Hey, welcome to the Halloween edition of Heavy Metallurgy. This is number 78, and I'm with my intrepid, awesome co-host, Alan, Spooky Alan, Professor Steele, who's had a rough week, so we're here to have fun.
We are. You've got special effects, and I've got a shitty tasting beer.
Yeah.
Never tried this before. Oktoberfests are usually safe bet for me, but yeah, this one tastes like wet cat.
Well, that's just yeah, I get it.
Yeah, we'll slog through it, but yeah, can't recommend it to others.
Well, I've got my wife's purple witch hat on, so I'm secure enough in my manhood where I can rock this in any time of year. And I thought it would be a perfect night tonight because why is that, Alan? Why am I wearing a purple witch hat tonight other than I've got the fashion thing all nailed right down?
I was going to say, I thought you were just going for a bold fashion statement. Is there another reason?
A bald fashion statement.
I guess it's because there's something witchy in the air tonight. For Halloween, we decided we would kind of focus on witches. Halloween, you can go in lots of different directions, but we decided we'd focus on something a little more specific. And witches are very Halloween and also very heavy metal. You've got, tons of bands, albums, cover art that features witches. So we figured we'd use that as a way to kind of, narrow things down and zoom in a little bit and have one particular topic for the evening.
Be nice now, people. Come on. Be nice. My son already gave me shit. My son said, Dad, I don't think a fat bald guy can pull that look off. Come on. Little butthole.
You should have turned him into a frog.
I should have.
Yeah, so we figured witches would be a good, fun Halloween theme since we've got Halloween coming up here in the States. I don't know if they do Halloween in other countries now that I think about it. So
probably.
Maybe if some of you are in countries where they don't do Halloween and you're just very confused, don't. It's all good. We've got it worked out. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Darren. Hey, Dizzy Dog. Good to see folks starting to fill in. I know some folks have been over at the Contract in Blood stream. Those guys have been at it for a good chunk of the afternoon, answering questions and having a good time. I've had it on in the background. I didn't get to sit down and watch it minute by minute, but they've been having fun. If you need something else to watch this weekend and you missed that, definitely go check out their stream once they've got it posted. And Jeff over at Metal Madness 66 is doing a deep dive right about now, I think, on Steve Wilson. So If you're into Porcupine Tree and his other projects, that's another one. If Marty's purple hat is just too much for you to handle live, you can go check out Jeff's stream and hop back over here and watch this one this weekend when you're more prepared for the impact of the special effects over there with Marty.
It's not only just purple, it's engorged penis purple. It's very specific.
I think that's a lipstick shade in like the new Maybelline collection.
I just got done watching. Purple. Yeah, I just got done watching Hocus Pocus 2. It's my tribute to Sarah Jessica Parker. But anyway, tonight to join us, we have a wonderful guest as always, who is up moving around. He's coming back down, sitting down in his chair. Here we go. Dreadful Rick from the Dreadful Minutes. My friend, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us on this Halloween.
Thank you for having me on. Yet again, it's always fun. And Halloween, as you guys know, is the Metalheads holiday. The goth heads. I guess the list can go on.
Yeah.
Underground, scenes in general seem to dig Halloween.
Exactly. I can do the horns. I can give you the real horns right here. This one eats runic bones. There we go.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So, sorry about your beer, Alan. I know you're not enjoying. So I got this pumpkin for tonight.
Okay. Don't know that one.
First time, so I'll see how it is.
And people are giving me shit about my hat. It's cool. I could take it. Mel, I got brownie points with Mel, so that's cool. I'm psyched about that. Yeah, but tonight, fun topic, kind of fun and easy, and I had a little harder time with this than I thought I would, to be completely honest. And I don't know if I've bent the rules a little bit, but don't much care. I got a bunch of stuff to show that's kind of fun, not necessarily all Halloween in sound, but definitely in spirit. My cauldron is getting a little crazy behind me here. Couldn't find a warlock hat, so I had to settle for whatever prop was available.
What does a warlock hat look like? How is that?
I don't think it's purple.
Hat?
I don't think it's purple.
So same hat, just a different color?
Maybe. Or no hat at all. I mean, that movie Warlock, he was all like slick back and cool looking.
Hmm.
Okay,
well, there's rules and that stuff, right? I lose track on that shit. I bought my daughter a Wicca book some time ago, and like it's all in there. It kind of just goes over the ins and outs, and I could use that guide right now for tonight.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I don't know much about warlocks. If it if it doesn't involve Doro Pesh, I really don't give a shit about the warlock stuff.
Yep.
Hey Ryan, good to see you in the chat there.
Good to see everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I know there's a lot of streams going on tonight, maybe spreading us a little thin, but that's cool. We're here. Alan's had a rough week, but we're going to try to get through it and have a good time. It's good to see Rick, and it's a fun, easy topic.
As always.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yes. Glad to have you aboard, Rick. It's always a fun time, and this is a fun topic, so we knew you'd be a natural for it.
All right.
Well, we might as well get started. We have some stuff to show, I'm sure. I'm real curious to see the.
We are so we are showing not just witch themed stuff, but bands with the witch in the title or something related
Witch
to
songs.
Witch songs. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to have the word witch in it if it's witch, related somehow. I'm thinking it's okay if it's spells. Black cats, yeah, it's open to interpretation. We're not going to be very strict with the rules here this evening.
Now, what did you guys have most difficulty with? Was it because you had too much of this, or just kind of honing in on, I don't know, like there were some bands in other material where I'm like, is that too obvious? So I was just kind of plus I kind of have an idea what you guys might show, maybe. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll abstain from pulling that. We shall see.
Yeah, there were some, that seemed like, okay, these are, pretty obvious. So, the list started very easy. Then, kind of hit, a little bit of a, mental roadblock. It's like, what else is there? But with a little digging, it's like, okay, started to come up with a few other, maybe less obvious, but still fun ones to dredge up as well. So the list came together, but yeah, it was kind of like, that initial brainstorm list. And then, I had to step back and think about it for a while, and then started, finding a steady stream of other things to add. So, Marty, how'd it go for you?
He says pumpkin's a strong ass beer. He's right. This one says pumpkin pie in a glass, though. That's not very reassuring. But I'm gonna feel it's already 8.6. I think a few of these I'm gonna be able to. I don't know. You guys, I might be a little out of it as we progress through this. We shall see.
For me, I'm a chronic procrastinator. So what I thought would be easy, a couple of them were easy right off the bat, but I had to do a little searching and scratching my head over it. I've got stuff. Some of it might be in by name alone, but I was hoping to get like a Halloween vibe for all of it, but it's just not going to happen. It's just, we got some that are and some that aren't, and it's the way it goes, but we're just here to talk about music. So, and have fun and breathe in a ton of smoky glycerin and move along my cancer diagnosis a little sooner. But anyway, Rick, why don't you start this festivity off? You're the guest. We always extend. Oh, beforehand, t-shirt design is coming, folks. We've got our friend Justin Bowling over from Vestibon's Blood Box doing an illustration for it, and we've got another shirt planned after that. So we got t-shirts coming. It's going to be fun. Eventually I'm going to do some coffee mugs as well, and people in our little poll we took mentioned they wanted a hoodie, so I'm going to pick one of the designs and make up some hoodies now that we're rolling into the colder months of the year. So that's coming in the future, and anybody that wants to reach out and support the channel, you can do so by subscribing, all that normal stuff. Super chats are available. Again, not necessary, but always a thumbs up when it happens. We appreciate all of you as always. We love you guys. It's great. And Rick.
All right.
Let's talk witchy stuff.
First of all, I know how you guys generally tradition with the heavy metallurgy is you have the guests kind of show something first, and taking that into account, I kind of started thinking, and I started pulling some things, and I realized, okay, well, most of this is going to be metal, or metal adjacent of some sort, or heavy metal, or whatever it is. And then I said, well, where did this all start, right? And a lot of you may be familiar with this, especially if you've been kind of following music for a while.
Let me guess. Can I predict what you're going to pull out?
Sure.
Coven.
Yes.
What do I win? More smoke.
A bigger purple hat.
I don't need one. This is plenty big enough.
Non-OG press, which I don't think in 1969 they had swirls quite like this. As far as I know, it was not very common. But yeah, I mean, so I don't know if you guys want to kind of chime in on this being one of the biggest coincidences in rock and metal when it dropped. So for those of you who don't know, people credit that first Sabbath album as kind of where it all started with heavy metal. But when you think of extreme music, and what was going on at the time, way before that Satanic Panic and all that stuff kind of kicked off, what was that, in the 80s? Yeah. So we had Coven, which is kind of a weird design because it says Witchcraft Coven, and it makes you think that's the band name, which is kind of like, you didn't really think this through. Put up by Mercury. I know they hired one guy to come in. He basically wrote almost all the songs, and I think they were involved with some, 3 or 4 tracks. I don't know which particular ones, but if you don't mind, I'll just go over it. So if you guys don't know, so the first track on here is called Black Sabbath, which is the first track off the first Black Sabbath album. And so if I open this gatefold, Marty, will you get demonetized? Do you know what's in here?
Oh, yeah, I want to see it though because she's gorgeous.
It's very blurry. It's very blurry.
Oh, it's not her though. Oh, it is her. Yay!
It is her.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Jinx.
Well, you expect to see this in some crazy South American black speed metal like shit. That like this is kind of the common, or some Italian doom metal, but they were already doing this. It kind of looks like Marky Mark. A little bit like what's the other guy from Stand By Me? Looks a bit like it too. I think this one's Oz, right? Osborne. Oz. So
that's hilarious.
Yep.
Which is not his real name, but that was the nickname they gave him at the time. And but a few albums in. Now, is this a great album? Musically, not really. No. It's more of the shock factor. I think is why it's a cool little piece of history to kind of own, and but I thought, why not just kick it off with this and kind of where it all started. So I think Witchy Woman is probably one of the more highlight of the tracks that are here, which is cool. So I pulled this Texas band called Doomstress. You guys familiar with this?
No.
So female fronted doom band. What's her name? Alexis is her name. She's really good. It's very kind of simplistic, very down to stuff, but very cool. So it's got a cover of a Wicked Woman, should I say? It's Wicked Woman off that Coven album, which is pretty cool. But if that's not enough to entice you, it's got a cool Rainbow Demon cover in there.
Uriah Heep.
Yep, Uriah Heep. So there's quite a bit of influence, coming from here. So I figured I might as just pull an example of something like this. So I figured that'd be kind of a cool place to start. But
that's
perfect
just to start. Yeah, and you're right, Rick. It's not a great album musically. I do think it has one of the best album titles of all time, though. Destroys Minds and Reaps Souls.
Yeah.
I've often used that as just a catch-all phrase when somebody's like asking, oh, how was the concert last night, or how good is that album? Just like, it's fucking killer. It destroys minds and reaps souls.
It's not as bad as you think, Mom. It's kind of like it's a little psychedelic, little Jefferson Airplane. That, you might like this.
Yep. Yeah, it is funny. Yeah, the weird similarities and coincidences, and yeah, it definitely has that occult rock vibe that. Even before heavy metal is up and going as a thing, there's already this weird connection with black magic and occult forces, and just the witchcraft. It kind of gets intertwined with heavy metal at a very early stage.
This is happening on the other side of the world. They're from I want to say Indiana, something like that.
I do not remember.
It's I know they're based in the U.S. in the Midwest somewhere, but they had no idea what was going on over there in England.
All right, Alan.
All right. Well, there's of course lots of classic bands that have witch in the name of them. We'll see some of them tonight. I'm going to start with one of the obvious ones, but I pulled one of the albums you don't get to show very often because it gets very mixed reviews. We'll start with Angel Witches, Screamin' in Bleedin'. So they worked to get 3 apostrophes into the title of this album. That takes some effort, but they got there. So, kudos to them for skimping on the letter G at every possible opportunity. This is their, I'll hold it back a little bit. Yeah, this is their 1985 album. So the second one. Now, of course, most people are enamored with the first album, and rightly so. The second album, not so much. The band went through multiple lineup shifts after the first one, and it took them 5 years to get this into the shops. And that, of course, is an eternity in the music industry. So by the time this came out, basically, this scene had shifted enough that it was not going to be the type of material folks were looking for. And on top of that, they were trying to follow up an album that had sort of become an instant classic in heavy metal circles. So the cards were stacked against them. Absolutely. Got very poor reviews. It's on the Kilowatt label, which did not really have, great distribution or anything. So a lot of places you didn't see it. And so, yeah, it was considered, a bit of a flop at the time. Now, personally, I think it gets shit on a little too much. At least half the tracks are pretty good. The production's a little weird. It's a little echoey, a little hollow sounding, but Dave Tatum on vocals is not bad at all. So, the new lineup works okay. Let's see. Who's to Blame is pretty good. Child of the Night's pretty good. Evil Games is a very good track from their set. Afraid of the Dark's not bad. Screaming and Bleeding's not bad. There's a few on the side too that are a little more forgettable, but it still has Fatal Kiss. Waltz the Night's a really cool, slower one. It's got a little bit of a spooky, doomy kind of vibe to it. Perfect for our show tonight. So yeah, if you've never heard this one, but you like Angel Witch and kind of your mid-80s British metal, this is definitely worth checking out. Don't pay a ton for it. Don't make it your life's quest to go track down a copy. But don't avoid it just because it gets a lot of, bad press over time too. I think it is better than people give it credit for. And just one other thing to note is if you get the Frontal Assault album, that's the US press, the cover that is kind of similar to this one, but it will have half of this album stuck on half of the Frontal Assault album. The US press was a weird mishmash of the two since neither really got a full press in the US. So there's some weirdness there in the discography, but yeah, Screaming and Bleeding, not a bad little album. You can certainly do worse, and figured this would be a cool chance to show this one off rather than just showing the self-titled, for the umpteenth time. So we'll start with one of the classic witch bands, Angel Witch.
So, Screaming and Bleeding, is that like a play on words to teasing and pleasing? I'm just curious.
Maybe they're trying to go for that. I don't know.
Dangerous Voice. That's one of those bands.
It could be. I had not thought of that.
Scary Booby Girl needs a sandwich and a podiatrist. Just saying.
I'm thinking, this might become a bit of a boob show just because these albums just happen to, I don't know, they just kind of go hand in hand.
No, I have none of those, unfortunately, over here.
Which heavy metal witches do get a little bit hexy, I guess you might say.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
I see what you did there.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
let's see what you're going to do here, Marty. It's your turn.
Hold on. Get the ambiance here.
Is there?
If that hat catches on fire and spontaneously combusts, we'll have 1 million views by Monday
That's what
morning.
I'm wondering.
That's right. We're going viral tonight.
I'm not saying I'm hoping for it. I'm just saying, it will definitely go viral.
Well, my first one is a pretty obvious grab. You can't go through Halloween without spinning the first 2 Mercyful Fate records, and I'm going to pull them both here. Melissa's got the song Melissa on it. Of course, she was a witch. And one of the most awesome albums ever. My least favorite of the first two, but I mean, even down to the photographs, one of the best band photos ever. Oh, King there doing his best to shock them all. Satanic Panic era, but classic. Come to the Sabbath. Witches and demons are coming. Just follow the magic call. And all you out there going out and see Mercyful Fate on this tour, cheers. I wish I could go. I'm not going to be able to make it. King sounds absolutely fantastic, but these two are essential Halloween spins, and this hat's got to go because it's driving me freaking bonkers. But yep, I'm starting off here. I mean, anybody in the chat's got to know what this stuff is, and it's absolute atmospheric evil perfection. Black metal before it was black metal. This is the shit that made me think Satan was real. And the stuff in Norway, not so much, but this stuff was pure evil. It felt like you're at a ritual listening to these. I love it.
I see that lumped with the first wave, listings.
They are. Yeah.
I guess being younger, it doesn't become immediately apparent because in my mind, there's a certain kind of, aura and mystique about it. But then again, that band, they were not usual. like some of those other bands. Yeah, again, the stuff coming out of and the stuff King Diamond was doing and all that was not like what those other guys, Venom and those guys were doing, but I can see why the mystique around it.
Yeah.
That's always been, one of my issues with, the term black metal as applied to that first 80s wave. Some of those bands sound nothing alike. And Mercyful Fate is the poster child for that. They are so much more technical and technically proficient than any other band in that genre that, yes, conceptually, lyrically, I understand why they're included, but in terms of their sound, they're miles and miles away from your Hellhammers and your Venoms and all that stuff.
That's the best thing when you have a sort of a renaissance of whenever these genres come out, and we saw that with this and, second wave and the first wave death metal. It's like all these bands did not sound alike, and I think that was one of the best things, coming out of there is they were kind of in their own little islands, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, Rick, what's your next little
okay
pull?
Well, this is an album I just enjoy very much. I've showed it before, but man, it's that first Bloody Hammers album. It's the first track, Witch of Endor. You talk about a strong opening track to your debut album. It's just catchy and it just grooves in a way. It's fuzzy and thick. And interesting thing too, and I actually had to look it up because there is a Transylvania county in North Carolina where which is a husband and wife group. I think they had a full band at one point, and they just dropped a new album. I think it was earlier this month, which I haven't listened to yet. So this band's been kind of hit or miss for me. But if you're going to explore this band, I'm like, start here. Yeah. So this is one of those where it's kind of in badly of a need of a repress. So if you find it out in the wild, definitely snag it because it's just really good. Black magic. It just has all the nice little tropes you want. Say Goodbye to the Sun is a nice little kind of saying goodbye to your human self. Really good. It's just a really good Halloween album, just all throughout. And they did us a favor, and they kind of just, they kind of cut it off right there. So it's not quite a booby shot. It could have been, but it's not.
Fail.
Yeah. So thought it was worth a pull. So I think I've shown this enough.
Awesome. All right, Alan.
Yeah, Transylvania County is right along pretty sure it's right on the state line with South Carolina. It's not far from where I'm at, actually. We get the weather reports for them on some of the local news stations since we're kind of close to the state line.
I thought that was like a stunt. It's like, all right, we're from Transylvania County. I'm like, haha. And I'm like, no, shit.
Nope, it's a real thing. Yep. All right. Well, now there's just going to be more new wave of British heavy metal bands in a while, but got to jump around a little bit and got to get this one in early. Switching over to Germany for Stormwitch, and had to use this particular album, of course, Stronger Than Heaven, since those are the most 80s witches you will see tonight. I'll just go ahead and make that bold prediction right now. Had to work those ladies onto the thumbnail, of course.
Are they all related to the Great Cat? They all have similar pictures where they have their mouths open.
I think this one's her niece. I'm not
Okay.
sure about the other two. They may just be hangers on, but rumor has it, scuttlebutt says there was a tenuous family connection. But yeah, this is the third one, Stormwitch. You know, these first three albums are very solid 80s style German heavy metal. All of them are really good. The band has a clean sound, and good vocalist. All the tracks are pretty straightforward. They're close to stuff like they're not as fast as early Rage. They don't have, you know, the crazy gravelly vocals of early Gravedigger. And they're not quite as commercial as Sinner. They just kind of sit you in a nice, you know, sweet metal spot for a good, straightforward traditional metal. They always kind of focused on, I guess what you'd call like, you know, the gothic style horror stories for a lot of song inspirations, werewolves, vampires, witches, that kind of stuff. Vocal melodies always good, catchy guitar work. After this album, this one came out in 86. Anything after this one, you got to be a little more careful with because they started very quickly going in a more commercial direction. They're good at that. They still were good at writing catchy tunes. They still stuck to those kind of, you know, gothic, romantic, horror story themes, you know, lots of Dracula's castle and Frankenstein's monster kind of stuff. But they just have a much cleaner, more polished sheen to them. You know, they kind of put away, you know, the leather and spikes from the wardrobe, and you know, they start wearing, you know, the colorful blazers and getting a little more hairspray, working up, you know, the poof there. I don't mind some of those albums, but they are not for everybody. For a lot of folks, they got too lightweight. But the first three up through this one are quite good. This one's got a few of their classics on it. Starts with Rats in the Attic, one of their best tracks. They've got Raven Lord is also on here, another well-known one. They got covered by Hammerfall. Jonathan's Diary, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Dorian Gray, that old story. They also have one on here called Eternia. And I've never looked because I don't want to know, but I have a sneaking suspicion it may be based on He-Man and Masters of the Universe. Because, well, if you were a kid in the 80s, you understand already. Maybe it's not. Maybe they went in a different direction. We can hope. I can't bring myself to look.
I don't know. I said the same thing about Manowar at times, but
Manowar, you expect it. I'm just really hoping. I'm just like, please, Stormwitch, please tell me, you know, a great German traditional metal band. It didn't. I mean, I'll give you the cover, no problem. I'll give you those later albums where you're getting into a little bit of, you know, the cosmetics a little too much. I'm really hoping this song's not about He-Man. I'm really hoping it's not, but I'm not going to look. So, sometimes you don't open Pandora's box because you just don't need to know the answer that bad. And I'm just going to keep that one closed.
You know what there needs to be more of?
More Stormwitch? That sounds like this and not the later stuff?
No, yeah, I've got a later album. It's really crappy, really glammy and terrible. But
some of them are, yep.
And what needs to be more of is Thundar the Barbarian themed metal bands.
Thundar rules, and nobody ever does Thundar.
No, yes. I need a band, Ukla the Muck.
Ukla the Mott, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you think about it, that was a effed up cartoon too, because I mean the whole thing is basically it's post-apocalyptic Earth. I mean the opening literally shows a comet struck between the moon and the Earth, ripping away the atmosphere and unleashing chaos upon the world. It's like, holy shit, you're literally talking like biblical Armageddon here.
That can happen.
And then
my reaction as a kid though, I was always like, cool.
Then you've got like a He-Man clone, like, with that lightsaber thing stuck to his wrist, and Ukla, yep. That was an awesome cartoon.
Yep.
Does not get the love it deserves these days.
Does not.
And to be honest, if we went back and watched it, we'd probably rapidly understand why. That's another box we don't need to open. We don't need to go back and watch Thunder the Barbarian cartoons because that would destroy minds and reap souls from our childhood.
Yep. I don't want to be reminded how bad that is, and I also don't want to be reminded how bad the Dungeons and Dragons Saturday morning cartoon was, because I loved that shit back in the day.
That one was kind of fun, but it never quite. That was one that they really suffered from having no plot whatsoever. You could tell there was supposed to be an arc. You know, the kids get sucked into the game. Hollywood, they should be getting out of the game.
Hollywood's going to revive that. They're killing our childhood, like just one flick at a time. It just keeps bringing them back. It's just only a matter of time.
Yeah. If they did it today, yes. I mean, they'd have it, 27 subplots worked in, across 5 seasons. Back then, it's just like, the 7-year-old with the bone club hits things again this week, and the girl with the pole does gymnastics. Next week, more of the same. They needed better writers, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I will say Thundercats always held up good, and then all the more recent anime versions of that were all pretty good. I watched them all. I thought they were fun.
Thundercats, that was like one of the first ones where I was a little too old to pay attention to it.
What are you trying to say, Alan?
I say Thundercats was for babies.
Oh.
That and Silverhawks. All those kind of rip-off ones they did for a while there.
Right on.
Indeed. All right. We've got Stormwitch covered. So, Marty, your turn to break out the next witch.
Let's go with the best thing I think that Stephen O'Malley ever laid a hand on, and that would be Burning Witch. This is a Crippled Lucifer album.
Mm-hmm.
This is, if you take Thor's Hammer and Conate, this is somewhere in between, a lot heavier. They had a singer on here. His name he was going as Edgy 69. I don't know what the name signifies, but his vocals are just absolutely twisted and nasty. He sounded like a more meth-addled Blaine from The Accused. Super screechy, nasty vocals, just super plotting, heavy riffs. My favorite stuff that O'Malley ever did, for sure. And not a lot of people talk about this band anymore. They did this, and they did a split with Goatsnake, which makes sense because that's Greg Anderson's band, and him and O'Malley, they're fellow Seattle. They grew up in Seattle and friends, and they ended up doing Sun O or however.
That's gotta be really heavy as balls, I gotta say.
This?
Yeah. Well,
it's really good.
With Anderson involved, everything's
Anderson's not involved on this. It's just no, it's O'Malley, Edgy 69. The bass player for this band ended up singing for The Accused after Blaine left on one album. Wasn't very good. And then one other person on drums. I don't remember the name, but yeah, this is a really good CD. I always really enjoyed it. Absolutely feral sounding, heavy, doomy, with insane vocals. Killer stuff. So yeah, Burning Witch. Again, not a very Halloween theme, but hey, it's got witch in the title, so
that works. Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Well, I know Simon is watching, so I know. Let me pull something that I know he will really dig, and this is one of those South American speed thrash blackened bands, and so Lucifera, and so this is La Cacería de Brujas, which basically translates to witch hunt, and this is one of those albums that kind of what you expect. Like, it kind of moves all at one place and at one pace, and it's kind of just it's very relentless. It just doesn't let go, and it's just really vicious. I love this album. So it shows 2 members back here, which actually has it's got 2 women and 2 men in the band. One of them, the guitarist name, her name is Axewitch. She goes by that name, which is pretty funny. Which I don't know if it's got to be because of that band. It's got to be.
Yeah.
You don't just come up with that name, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, they got a few albums under their belt. This is their 2018. Put out by Dunkelheit. Yeah, so one of the good things come out of Colombia. Usually when I hear about Colombia, it's never like a good thing. It's always that scopolamine plant drug or Escobar or there's some fucked up shit going on. Like,
yeah.
But when it comes to the music, though, you can always count on it being pretty aggressive and vicious and usually pretty good. But yeah, Brujeria, everything here is in Spanish. You may not care as long as the riffs are good and kind of sticks to your head. Let me see. Yeah, Ceremonia Secular Ceremony, Pagan Pact. Yeah, I don't know. I can't pick a bad track on here. Everything here is just great. It's very definitely look into them if you're into. I don't know. I wouldn't say they sound like Sarcophago. They're more in the vein of I would say probably more of the Teutonic band kind of direction of things. But really good nevertheless.
Again, Rick is the king of pulling bands I've never heard of. The king. He's got his finger on the pulse, folks.
South
If you're not
America
familiar with,
might be easier to do that, just with so much stuff coming out of there.
yeah, and if you're not familiar with the Dreadful Minutes, please go check out. I don't know if Alan, did you put his link in the description to his channel?
Absolutely, it is there for folks
Right
to go
on.
check out.
Go click on that link and go subscribe to the Dreadful Minutes. Always doing fun stuff with his videos, so definitely cool. Alan?
Simon's giving you a mixed review on that one, I think, Rick.
They're not Christian at all, definitely. I think it's safe to say.
All right, Alan.
All right. I want to keep kind of circling the pond, and it's time we got a US band in the mix from my side of things, and went with one of the sort of classic but forgotten ones on Metal Blade. You have Witchkiller out of, I believe it's Canada, and I believe Ontario. They made this one EP called Day of the Saxons. Gotta love the emphasis they put on the album title. Wait a minute, almost there. Now you can read it. Witchkiller, Day of the Saxons. If you're wondering, yeah, this is a real early one on Metal Blade, and the layout shows it. This is Metal Blade 1011, so the 11th release on the label, which puts it exactly one release after Obsession's Martial Law EP, for anybody who's wondering, because I am full of fun facts. But yeah, Witchkiller, very cool. I'm pretty sure this was the first non-US project that Metal Blade picked up. I do have to say, as far as witches go, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they slayed the hell out of that Muppet right there. Yeah, again,
yeah.
I'm just going with Muppet. I'm not sure. It might be a mannequin head, might just be some kind of gourd, possibly a melon that's been badly decorated at the dollar store. Anyway, very cool little EP nonetheless. This one has kind of a strong European feel to it, which should be of no surprise on an early Metal Blade release. You've got Day of the Saxons, lots of good choppy galloping guitars here, Riders of Doom. The real gem for me is Beg for Mercy. That one's just got this insanely catchy guitar riff, really good pace song. Penance for Past Sins is just a cool fucking song title.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is one that you used to hear people mention a lot as one of their favorites of the early Metal Blade stuff, and it doesn't seem to get a whole lot of attention anymore. The band did some demos and stuff, but never had another major release. They're actually listed as active on Metal Archives, because I'm pretty sure every single band on Metal Archives is listed as active. Not sure what the guys are up to these days, if anything, but yeah, it's a real shame they didn't get to do anything else, because this was a very cool and good EP. And one thing to clarify, because I made this mistake in the early days, and I've seen other people make it since, this is not the same band that appeared on Metal Massacre 4. On Metal Massacre 4, you have a band called Witchslayer, but that's a whole different group of teenage hoodlums who are harassing witches. These guys are in Chicago, not Ontario. So killers and slayers, those are two completely different things when it comes to witches. Don't get your witch murderers mixed up. That's a sure way to lose some of your true metal street cred points.
And the dude on the far right looks like he's really sucking it in for the camera.
Yep. He's got that look that just says, "Man, I should not have eaten that third burrito. Shouldn't have done it. Got to hold it in."
I've not seen that outfit at a Hot Topic yet. It's only a matter of time.
Yep,
God damn it, White Castle! Why did I have to eat that before the photo shoot?
Yeah, and this dude's in the middle, rocking that unibrow. He's gonna look.
Oh my
evil.
God, manscaping, bro.
Yeah. No, we're gonna look fucking evil, man. Absolutely. But yep. There they are in all their glory. Excellent EP, all joking aside. If you've never checked out Witchkiller, it is a good one. It's been, I don't know if it's had a recent reissue of any type, but it did get put out on like some special releases. I think it was actually paired with Martial Law for a reissue at one point. It was paired with one of the other early Metal Blade releases. Let's check real quick. Yeah, it was paired with Martial Law. So you can always look at that version as well if you want to get two of the early Metal Blade sort of not quite classic, but excellent releases nonetheless. All right, I've talked enough about Witchkiller and Witchslayer, so Marty, take it away.
Camera's not showing it, but it's really fucking smoky in here. really smoky in here. Anyway, next up, we're talking about some more first wave black metal classics. Battery of the Return.
Oh, yeah.
I ended up picking Born for Burning. Picked this one for Born for Burning. Of course, talking about a witch on that one. Of the first 3 Battery records, this is the one I grabbed the least. And it's because, not because it doesn't rule. It's really good. It's just the most
Production.
Yeah, it's really sloppy. It's just kind of a it's really ambitious as far as wanting to capture an intensity. He really upped the intensity from the first one to this one. And on the third album, he nailed it. He finally arrived at some really good catchy songs and a feel and a direction. This here is just unleashed evil, basically, and songs like Possessed. What a desperate sounding song. It's great. I love it, but I just don't reach for it much because I typically grab Under the Sign of the Black Mark. It just has that prototypical sound that the second wave of Norway kind of glommed onto, and a lot of second wave black metal. That album for me was the blueprint. This here is just more wild evil. I like it. It's really great. I just don't spin it as much as I should. But yep, Born for Burning. Had to grab it because of the witch theme for sure.
Yep.
Rick, where are you at next?
That's a good summary of that.
The consensus on that is, I always hear it's like you could flip a coin, and the same reasons people don't like it is the same reasons why people love it.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't. There's no wrong answer. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But that's a good description, Marty. It does feel like an album where he wanted to move past the just overt Venom worship on the first album, and he knew he wanted to make it crazier, but he hadn't quite figured out the best way to do it yet. So it's kind of very uncontrolled. I like it. It's a cool album, but yeah, he hasn't quite got his direction figured out yet.
Yep. Okay, Rick.
This one's more of a commentary, and so Alan, you put up a recent video and you talked about this band. This is a band I've never seen wear corpse paint, but they named their album Black Metal, and you know where I'm going with this. And I'm like, where do we stand with this band? I love this band, Witchcraft. Good Swedish sort of.
Oh darn, Rick's gone. I wonder what possibly happened to him.
Oh, you did that. Sorry. I thought I bumped the mouse.
I could have pulled something else.
I'm sorry, Rick, were you saying something?
Okay, the consensus is we don't like this band anymore. Okay, I can gotcha. No, but I started with Firewood, and kind of worked my way up, and then they got the big label deal with Legend. Love that album, and and over time, it's just like I felt like they kind of were losing their grip. And when they put out that last album, you're gonna call it black metal, and you have the gall to put out an acoustic album. It's not really what people were looking for. But I think this era I love. Those first few albums are, kind of was what got me into that sort of that proto metal classic doom kind of stuff. There's a bit of a resurgence of that kind of stuff happening in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I guess you could say.
Oh yeah.
And and this is among the bands. This another band called Burning Savior were kind of cropping up at the same time as this band, which also were really good and no one seems to talk about. But I should have pulled that one. But I don't think that one had anything that was witch in there that I can take of. But yeah, so it's I don't know. How do you guys feel? Do you guys feel like this band could put out another banger, or are they done?
I think that black metal thing killed them. I mean, my own personal, little fun diatribe about it aside, that was just such, a bad career move.
They went black metal?
No. They released an album called Black Metal, but it was really just the one guy, and it's a 28-minute just him strumming a guitar and singing softly into a microphone.
Which is nothing like Nucleus, which was the one before that one. And
there's nothing black metal about it. There's really nothing that rocks about it. It's one guy sitting on a stool strumming his guitar, kind of humming along for about 28 minutes. and he had the fucking audacity to title it black metal.
You can do it, at least wear the corpse paint or something, but I don't know.
You stick the guitar up your ass and give a few black metal shrieks or something.
I don't know how I feel about this band anymore
Yeah.
after that's done.
Yeah. Now, to be
you know,
clear, I did not get sucked in on it. I mean, I knew to be very suspicious. I bought it used for like $5 when I was buying a big pile of CDs. I just, threw it on the stack. But yeah, it was just atrocious. In terms of their other stuff, though, Rick, yeah, that album in particular, Alchemist, made a pretty big splash for them when it came out. You're right. That style was getting very popular around that time. It felt like a lot of those bands started popping up after Relapse put out the Pentagram anthology of their 70s stuff. And because that was the band Witchcraft always wanted to compare themselves to. It's like, oh, we're doing like the 70s Pentagram vibe. And I honestly just never quite heard that. And I'm fairly familiar with 70s era Pentagram. Like one entire shelf of CDs back there is basically just bootlegs, live shows, and rehearsal recordings from 70s era Pentagram. I never got that vibe unless they were trying to copy the most dull moments from some of the real early like 1970 stuff that they were tinkering with. So I never got that. But some of the Witchcraft, they did have some decent songs
through a
here
Swedish
and there.
filter too at the same time. It's like the Swedish isms kind of pop through. Also being on Rise Above, Lee Dorian was looking to pump this was his product. This is the kind of stuff he wanted to
That's
pump
true.
out.
Very much, yeah. The Swedish filter just makes things. Yeah, we're exactly like Bobby Leibig's Pentagram, but replace all the drugs and loser attitude with a secure social safety net from a European country and comfortable winter clothing.
Yeah, but then you're like, oh, now I know why he does all those drugs. That makes sense now. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Alchemist's okay. The one after it has a brown cover with a bird on it.
That's Legend.
Legend had some decent tracks on it. They weren't bad.
It had the most commercial kind of sound to it.
A little more, yeah. I didn't mind those albums at the time. I rarely go back and play them, even before the black metal debacle. I had already felt like those albums sit around for a long time. That's the kind of thing I got rid of the physical product years ago. I still have them on MP3, and I'm glad I do, but I don't open up the Witchcraft folder on iTunes very often.
Check out Burning Saviors, which I might reach out to you later on. The first two are the best ones.
That's a name I heard, but I never did check out that band, so that might be a better one. But yeah, no, it's definitely they definitely fit the mold for tonight, and they do deserve a mention. My own aspersions about their black metal album aside.
Well, I was agreeing with you the whole way. I was like, yep, that's exactly how I felt.
Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, if that's what you want to record, that's fine. But you don't label it that way. You just
don't call it black metal.
Yeah. All right, Alan.
All right. Are we ready for some more new wave of British heavy metal?
Always.
Classic Witch release with boobs on the cover. Do we know where we're going with this? No, we're going with A to Z. The Witch of Berkeley. This is the band's only full-length album, and it's a weird one because, as it says on the cover, it is a live album. A to Z was kind of a weird thing. They got signed to a major label. I'm forgetting which one it is. Polydor, I want to say. But then it seemed like the label didn't want to actually stump up the cash to do a full studio recording, so they ended up making the debut album just a live recording, and it doesn't have particularly good sound quality. And it doesn't seem to catch the band at their finest. They had done, like an EP, both 7-inch and 12-inch versions, and the songs are very lively, very energetic, really cracking. And everything on here just feels a little muted. It's almost like they only recorded the second half of the set after they got past the first 3 or 4 bangers, and now the crowd have kind of settled down, and they're wandering off to get a beer here and there. They recorded that part of the set. So yeah, the album, big surprise, didn't do well, and the band fell apart pretty soon after that. Some of the guys went on to form Aurora, which was a very short-lived project that made a single. One of the guys, and Frank's in the chat, he can correct me, but Gary Owens, maybe getting the name slightly right. He's had a long Gary Owens has had a long storied career with some very crazy stories about his ups and downs over time. But yeah, it's ended up being one of those things where the band got their wish. They shot to the top, got on a major label right away, and then just absolutely crashed and burned. It's not a terrible album. I may be making it sound worse than it is. It doesn't have good sound for a live album, and it just doesn't seem to catch the band on the best night. Fun thing, some copies did come with a denim patch that you could put on, which is strategically placed over the little boy. The little boy is tucked away, but he is still sitting there pantsless on the cover, and I figured we don't need that. So, one boob hanging out of the witch's cloak, fair enough. But 7-year-old kid that looks like, the misfit dude from E.T. staring at a crystal with his witch's wand tucked between his legs. We don't need that on camera tonight. This is a fairly family-friendly stream, and we're going to keep it that way. But so rest in peace, A to Z. Yeah, you were this close to making it big, and the live album was not the way to go for that big, important debut release.
All right.
All right, Marty, your turn, sir.
I've often talked about how much I hated this band when they started, and yeah, it just was not what I wanted to hear from the singer of this band. But I ended up liking this record. It's hard not to. It's so damn catchy. But we got Cathedral's The Ethereal Mirror, Hopkins' Witchfinder General.
Ah, yes, indeed.
One of the lead-off songs. It's such a catchy damn song. I believe it was one of the singles they released early on from it. I think it even has a video.
Yep,
it's a fun song. This is a fun album. When I got this, though, oh god, I hated it so much. I hated it. His vocals are so grating, but as time moves on and you let go of your hang-ups and your I'm too cult to listen to something this stupid, it you change a little bit, and the vocals work with this music. They just do. Hopkins' Witchfinder General. It's a fun song. It's a fun album. I like it better than the debut. I know a lot of people really uphold that debut as something really special in the Doom world, and I'm not there. This is a little more catchy. I think they progressed in more of a fun / commercial direction, but good stuff. It was a grower, though. It wasn't an instant win for me, for sure.
Yeah, the album's a little hit or miss, but the Matthew Hopkins Witchfinder General song is a fun one.
Yeah.
One of the few times, too, where I'm not big on having samples spliced into songs, which, of course, was a big thing through most of the 90s, but that is a good example of using them well. Having, the, who is that? Vincent Price clips, from the old Hammer film flipped in, actually makes sense in that song, and, add that extra little fun quality. I am Matthew Hopkins, Witchfinder.
Yep. All right, Rick.
Well, you guys brought up Matthew Hopkins, so it kind of made it easy to kind of go with the next one, and that is Witchsorrow. And as you guys know, it's a doom band out of the UK, and this is their debut album. And pull it specifically because it's got a second track, "The Trial of Elizabeth Clark." So if you know anything about Hopkins, and that was the first victim of his as far as the witch trial accusations. So this poor old woman was put to death by him, among others. And so they made a whole song about it. Really good band, really good album. But this is not something I would recommend if you're not already a doom nut. But this is just really good classic doom. This is another album that I really enjoyed, and again, it's really strong debut. But and again, the name's very fitting, being Witchsorrow, and having Elizabeth Clark on this debut as part of the story seemed very fitting. I almost pulled that Cathedral album too. I said, I think one of you, chances are someone's gonna pull some Cathedral somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was right. So I figured, this might be a cool kind of a lead-in to that. So thought it was worth the mention.
All right, Alan.
All right, I'm just going to kind of keep hopping around country to country here and there. Let's get a Swedish band who's a little better than Witchcraft up on screen this time. This is one that does not get many mentions. I'll dedicate this one to Ken over at the Death Metal Crypt because I know he kind of likes this band. It's Sweden's Axewitch. This is their debut album called The Lord of Flies, with a really great big axe thing there that kind of looks like something from a He-Man cartoon.
Why in the hell would they have a logo? Not put the logo up in the left corner and then put Axewitch in a type font, Arial or whatever the fuck it is. There, it's so stupid.
Most non-metal font ever. Like,
Yeah.
Thank you, Marty. You just stole my entire rant. I have
I'm
nothing
sorry.
else to say about this album.
I'm so sorry. We're sharing the same
Well,
brain here because
there
it's
you
like,
go.
what the
Yeah.
fuck?
What he said. Never mind me.
Shit, sorry. I
so
should shut my mouth.
Ariel can't be metal. Like,
Times New Roman.
It's redundant. You got the logo on it. You can read the logo just fine. What the fuck? Anyway.
You
Be right
you
back,
look at a
Nico.
lot of Swedish heavy metal from the very early 80s and things like cover art, layout, design, they almost make Metal Blade, look like, Andy Warhol meets Travis Smith in terms of, ingenuity and, content. Yeah, there's a reason a lot of these Swedish bands did hit a roadblock pretty early in their career. Anyway, Axewitch, first album came out around 82, 83. Aaron, I want you like that much more than I do. Yeah, this one, I'm kind of the same, Aaron. There are some very good songs on here. There's a few real cool ones. Seven Angels, the closer is awesome. What else we got on here that's good? Let's see. Let the Strings Crowd is the instrumental. Sinner, the closer on side A, isn't bad. It's funny. The guy has like kind of a little bit of a, kind of almost baritone kind of voice, a little lower register. And the production's a little bit low. So it gives the whole thing this kind of cool atmospheric vibe. The problem is some of the songs lean just very standard early 80s metal fare, almost a little commercial leaning. And so on those songs, it's a really weird contrast that you got this guy with this strange voice and this kind of, cloudy production. And you can tell they're trying to play a song like there's one called, High Power. And you can tell they want it to be more like, an MTV anthem kind of metal tune, like, Autograph or something. And so there's a little disconnect. It's like, this sounds heavy, but when I'm paying attention to it, it's actually not heavy. But then you get to songs like Seven Angels, and yeah, okay, that actually is pretty heavy. So they're a little back and forth, a little inconsistent here, but I got a little bit of a soft spot for them, and they fit the theme. And Axewitch is not one that gets broken out a whole lot of evenings. So had to mention the Lord of Flies and give it a little bit of love. We've got the guys pictured over here on the back so we can see what the band was going for at the time.
Oh, he's got baby's first axe. That's so cute.
Yeah. This is once again, again, if this is Kronos and Abaddon, they've got fucking medieval weaponry that'll kill your entire family, and the Swedes go for oh golly, that's probably a little bit much. We'll just show this cute little thing right here, right?
that's how I feel about those mini crowbars. You ever mess with those things? It's pretty useful, but I'm like, exactly that's threatening. I don't know.
Sweden, if you're going for heavy metal and you're going to use weaponry and stuff, you don't use the letter opener version that came with your He-Man figure. You gotta get the real thing. This is why Norway jumped out ahead of you when it came to black metal. They knew how to wield the weaponry.
Yep.
Anyway, Sweden caught up in that regard, but that's a story for another
That's a good
night.
point. It's probably all they can get in Sweden, like considering how restrictive some of that stuff is.
It could be, it's like oh yeah, I got a melon zester right here, and I'll use it on you, eh? I don't know. I'm doing a Canadian accent for Swedes.
What are you talking about?
That's yeah, that's a thing that just happened. I'll have to think about that while Marty shows his next pick. I'll work on that. I promise.
Well, Simon called these guys out, and he anticipated Rick to show them, but I got a couple of Witch Vomit CDs
yeah.
here. Not a lot of witch stuff going on here, just in name alone, but there's a lot of HM2 Sweet Death worship on this. If memory serves correctly, it's been a long ass time since I've spun these, but we've got which one is this? Buried Deep in a Bottomless Grave, and A Scream from the Tomb Below. Killer artwork, actually. Pretty cool stuff. These guys are solid death metal, really heavy. Like I said, HM2 Boss HM2 pedal has that very distinct sound. Yep. Pretty cool. I don't have a lot to say because there's not a whole lot of depth here. It's just, it is what it is. It's cool. It's great.
They're one of those $20 spin bands, right? Like that. So it gets so hard to keep up with those bands coming out there because they're just pumping them out like left and right. And I'm like, man, it's like you got to be very calculating when you're choosing what to buy, just because a lot of them are really good, including them. And it's just like there's a thing where you're trying to watch your wallet at the same time, but that $20 spin just keeps kind of continually putting out good stuff.
Yep.
I don't know.
All right. Rick,
I know the band name, but I'm not familiar with them, so I really have nothing to chime in with there. Sorry.
Okay, Rick.
Okay, so I pulled this one. This is a band out of Massachusetts, which is very fitting. We're talking about witches, and so this is Black Mass, Ancient Scriptures. They have a new album that I still need to get. Really good, just thrashy, just heavy, black. It's. I looked at this and I was looking at the image here, and I'm thinking like, okay, so Alan, for example, what does your workstation look like? You got like a pad, probably a pencil, your computer, some dinosaur poop, all kinds of things going on.
Have you been looking at pictures of my workstation, Rick? Because that's disarmingly accurate.
The dinosaur, petrified dinosaur shit is spot on.
It's just like, when the witch does her 9 to 5, what does her desk look like? It probably looks something like this. It's just like, but yeah, good band. The last song actually is called Prepare for War. Actually, last song is called Witch. Right here. That's another reason why I pulled it. So it seemed very, very fitting. Put out by Stormspell. I don't know if this is the only label, Dark Lore. I think there's a few that kind of put this out, which I thought was kind of cool. Another reason
that Stormspell record label's actually pretty damn cool. Their layouts are always really good. They've got kind of a unified flow. They put out some good heavy metal stuff. So they do a good job.
So get this. I don't know if you can read it, but they got a little etching in the back.
Ah, cool. Yeah.
Pretty cool. So it says, stormspell.com, old farts stuck in the 80s and proud of it.
Nice.
That's their logo on Stormspell. Yep.
So I thought that was pretty awesome and worth the pull, but definitely a band. I know Drunken Metalhead Logan just saw them live. So I'm a little, man, like definitely hoping to come around my neck of the woods.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool. But
so they're a recent-ish band. They're still functioning and
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like getting on that Stormspell every once in a while and just playing catch up. I mean, I bought all the what the hell they called the Running Wild band. Blazing Stone. I got all their stuff. I bought a bunch of the Rock-a-Rolla stuff, which is really good. It's just a good label. They're solid. Good, cool website. It's a good label. Decent prices.
Yep. He's been around for a while and does a good job with his stuff.
Yep. All right, Alan.
All right. And just for the record, in case anybody is curious out there, there actually is at least one paleontologist in the world who does specialize in fossilized poop. She used to be at one of the universities in Colorado. I don't know if she's still there or if she's moved somewhere else, but really nice lady. But yeah, does a great job. Well-researched stuff, expert in her field. All her students say she's really the shit.
Really loves Gigi Allen too, I bet.
I don't know if she's.
I almost feel the same way about podiatrists. Like, why would you want to look at feet all day? But that's just You know, that's just me.
And if you're a podiatrist, it's not good feet. It's
No,
feet
yeah,
that's like, oh, it's not good. It's not a good scene.
So you're saying you don't want that copy of Big British Corns that I got you on DVD for Christmas, Rick?
Bunyan
Okay,
porn.
I'll gift that to somebody else.
Bunyan
I might have
fuckers.
to put a patch over it.
Paul's Bunions.
Toe jam huffer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Another drink after that.
All right. I guess I'm up next. This is such a stretch of a poll, but I wanted to pull this album because I found it came up, and I love this record. I love this band through this era, and it's the song 19 Witches by Monster Magnet off their Power Trip album. This album is so catchy, heavy. It's total stoner rock, unapologetic 70s. It's just so catchy. And 19 Witches, it's funny. I listened to the song because I wanted to be reminded of it. I haven't spun the CD in a while, and it's like a surf rock, down, 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 like a surf rock sounding guitar. And I don't think the song has anything to do with witches, to be honest. I'm listening to the lyrics. I'm like, this makes no fucking sense. But
there were more of that almost stoner, but not quite Caius, but they were more psychedelic. They were more of that. It had the Mellotron. They had a bunch of other stuff happening.
Yeah. The stuff leading up to this album, I mean, this is their last truly amazing record. I've got a couple more after this one that I like just as much, but this Backwards is just some great.
That's when they really blew up when that came out. I remember. They became the radio band. Very briefly though, but Dave Weindorf, really cool dude. I almost feel bad you pulled that because I'm a Jersey guy. Like, why didn't I pull the Jersey band?
Yeah. Great stuff, though. If none of you folks out here are familiar with this is just a fun stoner rock record. I mean, it's heavy 70s influence rock, but with a little modern twist. The early stuff, a lot of psychedelic drug talk. It's just well written, heavy. It's so endlessly hooky. So good. Yeah. Great. I was happy to pull this one, just even though the 19 Witches, there's nothing really, it doesn't sound creepy at all. It's like I said, a surf rock theme to it. It's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, that's a good pull, Marty. I'd forgotten about that one. And I'll tell you something. I will bet you good money that Dave Weindorf knows Thundar the Barbarian by heart. That is probably got to be right up his alley.
I bet.
I can see that. Yep. Considering the kind of albums covers he puts out too, he's into that fantasy element and everything. That's his wheelhouse.
Yeah, he's always said, that basically a lot of the inspiration for Monster Magic was just taking all the shit he liked as a kid and trying to cram it all into one musical project. I like outer space, monsters, big robots, boobs, and giant monster trucks.
Yep.
Let's wedge all that shit together and make an album and a band out of it. There you go.
Another album to check out that's a classic by them is Spine of God. I absolutely love that record. It's so fucking heavy and so good. It's just well written, awesome.
I haven't heard that one. I know some of their albums are not so hot. They can be hit or miss. So I'm always a little iffy. He's like, was that one of the good ones or one of the bad ones? I don't know.
If you see Spine of God in the used bin, grab it because it's a monster album.
Spine of God, okay, yeah. When they're heavy, I mean, he can be very, very heavy in that band. There's they're really good when they do get into those heavier, groovier tracks.
All right, Rick.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a certain person with this one. So this is from Italy. So this is a band called Psychedelic Witchcraft. If you guys are familiar. Mm-hmm. So this was headed by Virginia Monti. And she started this band. She was solo for a while. I got into this band, I guess. It wasn't really a band. It was pretty much her back in the old Bandcamp days, like 2014, 2015, something like that. We started with this material, and I've kind of just been following her along. Eventually, she got a full band, and she got all these guys to come on, and and their sound group with that. So this was the last thing they put out. I want to say 2017, something like that. Then they put out a compilation of all their stuff after this. The thing with her, however, is, and I've read various interviews and just gotten certain opinions, just kind of about her, and she could be a bit of a control freak, and I think they kind of turned off the band a little with when that happened. So being the last release, she kind of just dropped the band. She decided, I just don't want to do this anymore. So the band did not see that coming, you know, at that point. They're like, well, you know, it's like we're supposed to, you know, like give us a heads up. So, but I liked this project in general. Like it's kind of it's doom occult rock, I guess you could say. So Virginia ended up on this band. A lot of you may know Dead Witches right here. So she just did this one album. You know, you can tell from Heavy Psych Sounds. You kind of
Cool album cover.
It's got that very electric wizardy. So Mark Greening actually started this band. The reason I brought up the Control Freak thing was because overall this was pretty much Mark's band. You know, him being an electric wizard, and you know, a few other bands. You know, he decided to kind of go this direction. And Virginia was the vocalist for this band, but she did not like being in this band for some reason. And
they wouldn't let her be on the cover like the other one.
I don't know if she modeled for this or not. There's a song here called "Drawing Down the Moon," which I thought was interesting. Ouija, Mind Funeral. It's got the whole Ouija kind of look to it. So, and the thing is that the guitar player actually committed suicide. I'm not sure why during that period when this happened. So that might have been a huge factor in why she left the band after this. So they had a hard time keeping their vocalists in rotation. Then they brought on another girl. I think her name was Summer or something for the sequel right here, The Final Exorcism. And I liked her a lot better. I like this vocalist a lot. Just in general, for this particular sound, for this particular band, I thought it sounded really good. But after this, they went with yet another vocalist, and that was when they did that split with. So this is with Witch-Throat Serpent. So I got to thinking, like, well, what is Virginia doing nowadays? So looking around, she's on YouTube now. She changed her name to Naya Visions, Naya Tarot. So you can watch her on YouTube now doing tarot readings and doing spell recommendations and all kinds of stuff. So she kind of left music entirely. So which I thought was kind of sucked for me, because I really did like this project. You know, I kind of wish they kind of kept on going, and it's just, I don't know. I thought it was a little bit of disservice the way she kind of just left the band hanging with this right here. But you know, Black Magic Man, really cool, really cool album. I think if you guys check out Psychedelic Witchcraft, it might be more in your wheelhouse if you're into that occult rock, doom rock kind of thing, which I thought was really cool. But I don't know, man. I think she's the kind of person who kind of needed just to be on her own, do her own thing. It seems like going the band route was never really something that she needed to go. It wasn't just not compatible with her personality.
Okay, cool polls again. Bands I've never heard of. Again, you're holding up your end of the deal here.
Rick always has all the cool obscure doom stuff.
Oh, I got obscure. I pulled out. I'm like, should I show it? Should I not show it?
Oh my God, the smoke is killing me in this basement. That was a bad idea. And it's ready to shoot again. I was about to do it. Terrible. What?
You need some THC in there.
Yeah, that's just what I need. I'll be in the fetal position, pooping my pants. Not good. Pot does not like me. Anyway, Alan, you're up.
All right. Well, we still got some big new wave of British heavy metal bands to hit. It's interesting because there were a bunch of bands from that era that went for witch in the name, and maybe went for at least a little bit of kind of the occult spooky vibe. One of the early kind of successes was this band, Witchfinder. This is their first album, Give 'Em Hell. Classic album cover. Now this is how you do a fucking album cover right. You got the pentagram, you got the
cross-eyed goat,
you got the crazy goat thing with red eyes, cool, logo there. I mean, this album sold incredibly well, and I guarantee you it was on the strength of the cover alone. Because musically it's a weird one. These guys go back into the 70s. There's some of their earliest recordings were around 75. And on this album, you can still hear they're really still rooted in 70s hard rock, more or less. They've got a few longer form songs that are kind of slow. It's not that they're bad, but in general, they really kind of lack the energy that you associate with new wave of British heavy metal that, those bands were, kind of energizing 70s rock. They were kind of done with that scene, and Witchfinder wasn't quite done with that scene yet. There's still some good stuff on here. The title track in particular is classic. Now that one, it really feels like a bona fide new wave of British heavy metal anthem. Getting Heavy is, a fun song, if nothing else. But some of these others, like Unto the Ages of the Ages, there's no way you're going to make a song with that title into a headbanging classic. It's just not possible. It bends the laws of physics too much. Side one has Leaving Nadir, which is this 7-minute slog of a song that just will not end. So yeah, it's not really the strongest set of tunes overall, but it got the band a lot of attention. This is where, people sometimes, of course, say, "Oh, it doesn't matter what you put on the album cover; it's the music that matters." No, the graphics and the image help a lot too. The band played up the occult image quite a bit. They had the right visuals, and it got them a good selling album. They stayed on the same label, Rondelet, for the second record as well. And Rondelet wasn't really a big rock or metal label. If I remember right, they tended to lean a little bit more towards the punky side of things. But they still picked up this band and got 2 albums out of them before the band got dropped, went through some lineup shifts. They came back and got 2 more albums. So for a new wave of British heavy metal band, they were fairly prolific. Name a group not named like Motorhead or Iron Maiden from that era. They got 4 full-length LPs before they were done. But those later LPs, those sound a lot more in tune with the heavy metal scene of the early 80s. The first 2 albums owe a lot to 70s rock. They have their moments. There's some good songs on them, but I think this is a good example of a band that got better over time. Instead of having the classic cliche of the demo was always better. Not when it came to Witchfind. Witchfind, the later stuff works a little better than this, but hey, you gotta love that sleeve.
Very cool.
All right, we'll get to some
I wonder
more.
if Venom would have put out a cover like that, though. Like.
Oh, you mean this one?
Like that?
This one right here? Yeah, very similar.
Would
Or
have
similar
like,
era?
give them hell. Like,
Yeah. Well, I pulled this one obviously for Don't Burn the Witch. The winds of hell are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the fuck that means, but I don't know if he does either. But man, classic record. I haven't spun the first 3 albums in a while, but I have such a endless fondness and nostalgia for this stuff. My teenage years were obsessed with this shit. You think of the Satanic Panic era, this was the ringleader of that. Even though the lyrics are ridiculous, it's just so tongue-in-cheek Satanism. Obviously they don't believe it, but their band photos were killer. I mean, they really did the marketing thing really well, and they had a punky edge to them, and they wrote killer songs. And it's so funny. You watch like the 7 Dates of Hell video, or the one after it. I can't remember the name of the second one. Oh, they start off with Too Loud for the Crowd. It's just amazing how shitty of a drummer Abaddon was. He's just, cheers to him. He's got cancer. He got a cancer battle. He's battling cancer right now. Cheers to him. But how the band was even held together, it's amazing, because his timing, his meter was all over the place. Even just on super simple, his tempo was like this all the way through a measure. It's just, but I guess if you're used to practicing that way, you just get accustomed to it and you kind of anticipate what he's going to do. But this shit is just so good. And, there's a lot of songs about witches throughout here. And my favorite song on this one is Sacrifice. I love that song. That's the best song for me on this album. But Don't Burn the Witch. And of course, the At War with Satan introduction, which is kind of a clever little thing to do. Like a trailer of the next album tacked on your current album is pretty damn funny.
Fourth time was pretty genius idea, actually.
It's a total genius idea. Yeah, you're pre-selling the next record before it even gets there. And black metal, Don't Burn the Witch. Classic.
Pull. We may see another Venom pull in a minute. We may even hear a Venom pull in a minute, but we'll get to that.
There's a lot. A lot of witch stuff in the early Venom. Oh my God, Frank. Did he really? That makes a lot of sense, really. I mean, he did fine, but live his meter was terrible. He could not play in time. It was a sloppy mess. But I don't know if it ever got better. I think he got better as he went on, but that early stuff, maybe he was just too jazzed up. I don't know, but woo, rough.
Let's see. Oh, Eradicate. I just picked that up, but I haven't even had time to play it this week. So
I need to get it. We listened to it. We listened to it a couple of weeks ago at practice, and man, it's really good. It's really good record.
It's sitting here next to me and hasn't got in the CD player just yet.
I never doubted it would, but when you get that confirmation again, you're like, it's like Chris and company can't do no wrong. I don't know.
All right, Rick.
You know what's funny? You kind of make it easy for me to kind of leap on to the next thing. So you pulled black metal, right? Like, so I thought, okay, so that's an example of what kind of made them successful for that particular genre and what they were for that shock factor and everything that was going on, especially the Satanic Panic era. So here's an example of what not to do, right? So I'm going to pull the antithesis of that album. So this is a band called Witch, Salem's Rise. Alan, I know you know that one.
Oh yeah, yep.
And these guys have the gall to put something like this out during that Satanic Panic era, and have it already sound dated. It is 85. We're talking 85 when it dropped, and I guess it's had a bit of a cult status over the years. And they had that one press run, and they kind of just disappeared. For I don't know how long. So this is one of those where it's been pulled from the vault. It's had a resurgence, and it's been picked up by God, who was the label on this one? I can't even. Altanticize Records. I think it's what it says here, and or Eargasm. It's got both names, but yeah,
Eargasm was the original label.
Eargasm was the original. Okay, so
who did that reissue a few years ago? That was
Altanticize. I think it says here.
Austenticized. Okay, sure.
I mean, how metal is that? I mean, look at that. It's just like
I was going to wear that one outfit tonight, but I was a little self-conscious. I don't have the proper manscaping this evening to pull that off.
Kind of a track. I think these guys had material way before then. It's just by the time this album dropped, no one was looking for this. It's like, this would have came out in the 70s. This would have been such a banger, but it's just too little, too late. And I still put it on from time to time. It's pretty good. For what it is. Take into consideration, about the time period and when this came out. But nobody took notice. These guys were not doing what Venom was doing. It's just yeah. Yeah. It's one of my art school projects. Basically, is what it looks like. Not even that. It's like high school.
It's got a very squished forehead. Very.
You don't even. Oh man, I can't look at it the same way again.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah,
but just thought it was worth a mention, and don't do this.
Yeah, in their defense, Rick, nobody picked up on what they were doing at the time because nobody heard what they were doing at the time because that original album got no real release whatsoever, and that the band got notoriety for a while because the original pressing of that album, it for a long time was extremely hard to find. It had shown up on like one or two collector eBay sale list kind of things. And because nobody knew what it was, but it was a privately pressed, US metal LP from the mid 80s that had Witch and Salem, and everything. And, cover art that it's so bad that it's, kind of retro fun.
It's got to be good. It's that bad. It's got to be good.
Exactly. And the album pushed, $1,000, price tag for a while, simply because it was that hard to find and just, that kind of, the cool underground cult thing. But then once people heard what it sounded like, the price kind of backed off pretty quickly as more copies started to show up. And funnily enough, one of the guys in that band, I believe it's the guitarist. Let me double check.
Midget Dracula. There you go.
Ted George, the guitarist. He released a 7-inch single on his own back in the day too. And I used to have a copy of that. It's called Chained Heat and has a couple of like cool action shots of him wielding the axe. And a guy I know tracked him down. It's probably been a decade or more ago. I
Better than
actually
that?
tracked him down where he's at these days, and to see if he still had copies of stuff. But yeah, it's one of those things. The name is right, the album title's right. The
Check
cover
boxes.
art. It's got all the earmarks of one of those classic lost U.S. private presses. But the musical quality, at least in my opinion, yeah, it's just not there. It does not come together. This is a good example of where just because something is expensive does not mean that it is good. Rare and quality music don't always go hand in hand. And
Yeah. Put this against Hell Awaits. Now it's even lower on the total.
You could put that against Taylor Swift, and no, it'll still be out Taylor Swift, but Taylor might actually get a few punches in. Yeah, it's.
You could make the witch argument with her, but I'm not gonna go there. But I'm just putting it out there.
Fair.
Right. All right, Alan.
Okay, Marty. Marty cracked open the seventh seal with Venom. I've got to follow up because I picked a different Venom. I went with the debut album, Welcome to Hell, for one of their classic tracks, Witching Hour, which was the inspiration for the title on the thumbnail for tonight's episode.
Yeah.
You really can't go wrong with early Venom. It's crazy, it's heavy, it's fun, it's sloppy, it's everything that a lot of headbangers want in it. Absolutely. Witching Hour is just great track. I love when they're building up to it. It's like all hell breaks loose.
Yeah,
and they just screamed the title. And so yes, that was I actually pulled the clip. We're going with it tonight. Absolutely. Let's hear Mantis rip into that guitar solo. It's Witching Hour time. Oh shit. Wrong clip. God damn it.
That was his bathroom toilet viewing pleasure while he was in there earlier before the stream.
Marty, just go ahead and show whatever you were going to show.
Oh, okay. Gladly.
Again. God damn it. Be right back.
I guess Brittany was the cue. Yep.
All right. I mentioned Norwegian black metal, and within the realm of Norwegian black metal, of course, there were the ones that really rose to the top in popularity, and there was a bunch of other bands that were in a lot of ways still just as good, but they just did not achieve as rabid of a following as bands like Dark Throne, Burzum, Emperor, Satyricon, all that stuff. And I pulled Gehenna's Seen Through the Veils of Darkness, the second spell.
Oh, very nice.
For the track A Witch is Born. These guys are really good, really solid Norwegian black metal with really cool synth lines on it. And it wasn't, commercial synthy stuff like, maybe the route that Dimmu Borgir went later on. But solid record. This is a Cacophonous Records pressing, which I don't know if it's hard to find these days or not. But this is a great album. The Witch is Born's a killer song. This is one of the things that popped into my head when Alan came up with the topic idea. So good, solid, third tier Norwegian black metal stuff, but it's good stuff.
Yeah,
Witch is Born.
I like Gehenna. That's cool. That's one that particular album. When I just moved to North Carolina, and I found in Raleigh, School Kids Records is one of the big record stores there that always has good stuff. It's like, the first time I wander in there, I had just moved in, so I've just had to pay all the fucking moving fees and apartment, security deposits and shit. Hadn't gotten my first paycheck yet. And that was one of the CDs they had I'd been looking for. I was like, oh shit, I want to like this store. I really want that. I really should wait until the end of the month to get it when I get paid, because I wasn't even quite clear on how much I was getting paid yet.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I was like, God damn it, I'm not leaving this here, because if someone else buys it and I come back later, I'm gonna be pissed. So I went ahead and bought it. But
worst feeling in the world. Yeah.
For about 6 days there at the end of August, I was kind of sweating it on the grocery bill. I'm like, oh shit, I hope they don't fuck up my paperwork on hiring, because if so, I'm gonna want those $18 back.
That's why I learned to like ramen noodles and not sirloin. Just for those for that period of time, you know, just.
Yeah, we were already kind of a shopping budget as it was, so yeah, cut it close. But everything worked out. The hiring paperwork was done. The paycheck was reasonable, and I did not have to go fight stray dogs for cold French fries behind Arby's that weekend. So we all lived happily ever after.
Before we kick it over to Rick, I have to have a little update on the smoke situation in this house. I got a text from my wife. It says, "Enough fog machine." I said, "Yeah, I'm dying down here. I feel like a lab rat." And she said, "So do we." So the furnace circulating system has moved the smoke through the entire house. My friend has a friend of his staying over the night. So I'm sure the kid's going to go home and tell his mom, "Mom, it was smoky all night." Anyway, Rick, what I do for you people to sell a theme. Come on. Alan's been doing it all these years, all these times with his little poop hats and his turkey clapping, twerking hats. And now I had to bring the witch hat and the smoke. And now I'm suffering for you people. Anyway, Rick, what have you got?
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll, Marty.
It is.
As you guys can see, I do my little knickknacks and stuff too. I almost did the smoke machine route. I almost did that, but I'm waiting for the November 1st 90% sale. And it's going to get really dreadful after that. Your
tenants are going to kick your ass out. You're going to come home from work one day and find a million boxes of records sitting out on the curb.
I'm going to tell them, look, those aren't real shock lines. Like, relax.
Right. Yep.
In response to Andre, any thrash stuff for Halloween that isn't Slayer? Okay, I pulled something. It's a classic, and Hellwitch.
Oh yeah.
This fuck man, like this.
Let's hear you say that. Let's hear you say the title. I'm curious. Curious how you pull that off.
I see what you're trying to do. I know Espanol. I don't know thrash Espanol.
Thrash Espanol.
Yep. Incendio miscreancy.
Miscreancy. I don't know.
It's always amusing watching YouTubers trying to pronounce this stuff, and everybody has their own interpretation of it. I feel like the band should chime in these videos and just finally correct us. But yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's very technical, very aggressive, very in your face, and this just scratches every piece of that itch, man. Whenever I want to put it, I know. I mean, of course they have other albums, but this is the one I always go back to. This one right here, there's just something special about it to me, and so I figure, you know what? I think this is one that would be cool to pull that most people are familiar with. Yeah, most people are familiar with, and can definitely and if you haven't heard of this band or album, definitely need to check it out. There's more than just the big four. You got these guys who kind of need a little more love in the underground. But yeah.
Fun fact: back in the day, I used to do a lot of video trading with Pat, the drummer from that band.
Yeah,
he was a huge bootleg video guy. This was back before there was email and shit. So he would send me this catalog, a typed catalog of all the videos, bootleg concerts he had on video, and it was fun. That was a fun time trading. There was tape trading, and then there was videotape trading, which was just as much fun. But yeah, he was a cool dude and massive video collection. Insane.
Man, it's like that's not really a thing anymore, like no. At the time that must have been something else.
Oh, Pat was a guitarist. I always thought he was the drummer. Sorry, Ryan. Dart.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today, Rick, too, or last night, that you don't really see folks trade demos or tapes anymore because
you don't need to.
Well, you don't, but sometimes every now and then you do. For example, a quick plug for our buddies over at Radical Research podcast.
Right,
they have their most recent episode out, is covering some of the solo stuff that Dax Riggs did after Acid Bath and Agents of Oblivion had kind of been left behind. Really cool show, interesting. I always liked Dax Riggs. Thought he was a really interesting performer, both as a singer and a songwriter. And Jeff and Hunter are playing some demos that he recorded around like 2003, 2004, and some of the songs are fucking phenomenal, but they never got released anywhere. They were strictly demos. So I'm like, damn, this would be really cool to have, but there's nowhere to get them because they were never released.
And that's the days too, man.
So it's like you got to go back to the tape trading days, but nobody.
You could write to those bands; they'll just send you a
them.
demo. You know, everything was today. It's just it's commercial now. You hop on whatever Bandcamp or whatever. Everything's for sale. Everything is, you know, it costs as much as albums sometimes. I'm like, it's ridiculous. It's a demo.
So but it's just been literally earlier today. I'm just like, God damn, there's really not a good channel to go hunting for those Dax Riggs demos because nobody's in those circles. 20 years ago, there were multiple people I could have contacted that might have had them on a list for MP3 or CDR trading, but all that stuff dried up a long time ago. So it's like, well, bum weasels, I'm just going to have to keep playing the same episode of Radical Research over and over again. And yes, I said bum weasels, which is a word my son made up to basically express disappointment or concern that something's not going the way you want. As far as I can tell, it is completely his original vocabulary word, and it's awesome.
Oh, just wait till you he switches to fuck. My kid has dropped the F-bomb several times.
It will come someday, but yes, it was just one of those random things. Like we were playing a game one night, and like he rolled, and it was only a 1, so he landed on the wrong spot on the Candyland board or something. It was just like, oh, bum weasels. And I'm just looking at him like, what did you say? He's like,
that will do it. A multiplayer Call of Duty.
And I'm sitting there trying not to burst out laughter because I'm trying to figure out, I was like, where did you hear that word? He's looking, he's like, it's not a bad word. I was like, no, it's not. I've never heard it. Where's it from? I thought maybe it was like a Harry Potter word because he was watching Harry Potter. It's just like, I just made it up. I'm just like, best word ever. So it's a normal part of the household vocabulary whenever
that's hilarious.
When we drop something, break something.
The F word, I'm just saying.
It was a couple months ago. Maybe it was maybe 6 months ago. I was sitting in the chair watching TV and I hear like a crash. Ah, fuck. Then, sorry, Dad. I'm like, come on, man. He's like, sorry.
Well, when you hear it for the first time, it's a little jarring, right? Because I went through that same phase. I'm like, they think you're not listening, right? And you're like, that was. I remember changing your diapers. Like now the F word, you're in the F word phase now. You're like, I know. It's like, here now.
Well, Marty, you just got to introduce him to bum weasels. It's what all the cool, hip, 7-year-olds are saying these days.
Oh, I'm afraid we're beyond bum weasels. I think that ship has sailed and sank for us. Yep, there's a doom band. DG Charles is going to start a stoner doom band called Bum Weasel. Yep.
I approve of this project.
Or another good one for a stoner. I've been, throughout the heavy metallurgy history here, I've been trying to drop, band names for other people to use. Things that I've often came up with that I'll never do. I thought of a good stoner band as well called Shitty Wizard. I think that'd be a good. I
remember you saying that once. I think was it when Brian and I were on one of those stream nights, and I'm like, I made a mental note. I'm like,
Shitty Wizard. Yep.
Like, gonna do it.
All right, I am back. Now we got a little off stray here. Let's strayed. Let's here's one. We talked about this on the album club a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Runes of Beverast, Blood Vaults, the Blazing Gospel of Heinrich Kramer, who was the author of the Malleus Maleficarum, which is a hammer of the witch, I guess is what that loosely translates to. Yeah, Pig. That is awesome, Frank. That is a great name, Pig Bride. I love it. So good. That one I've tucked away in the brain too.
Better than Pig Destroyer. There you go.
But the Malleus Maleficarum, this whole album is like a concept album talking about the author. He was a guy that was first encouraged by the Catholic Church until the book came out, his practices in persecuting witches, the Catholic Church found to be a little too extreme. So they kind of said, nah, maybe not, but the book kind of took off, and shit wizard is on Urban Dictionary.
He was kind of like Lara Logan and Newsmax this week. They're just like, yeah, we like it crazy, yeah, go nuts. Holy fuck, that's a little too far. So
But still, the book gained notoriety, and it was upheld by other religious groups, other religious Christian factions. But this album, we talked about it at length. I'm not going to get into it too far here, other than it's a great kind of a nightmarish, blackish doom album. It's really excellent, really good production, great cover artwork. I mean, this is just an awesome slab of wax. So check out Malleus Maleficarum. Go do some Google searches on it. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's got a long storied history with the book, and y'all did a really good job on it with that episode.
Well, thanks. Yeah, we've been having a lot of fun with the book clubs. It's been a lot of fun. But which you folks need to watch more of them. There's not a lot of hits on the Wednesday streams, but we're doing them for you guys, and definitely check them out and let us know what you think. Rick, you're up.
All right. Well, when you think of Chicago, when you think of doom metal, bands like Trouble come to mind, and there's a very different flavor of band that I don't see people talk about, and it might have been the fact that they dropped an album way back in the 90s, took a long hiatus, came back, and so this is Witchcross, not to be confused by the Danish Witchcross. So this is the American version, and so Bill, that Bill, what's his name? Bill Janis. I'm not sure how you say it, but pretty good vocalist, man. The guy's epic as shit. He kind of reminds me of if there was an American, Messiah Marklin. Like, I feel like he kind of could fit that mantle a little bit. If Rob Lowe was not in the picture, I feel like there could have been a place for this guy. So it's got a song in here called what the hell? To Love a Witch. And it's different because witches need love too. And this is basically a love poem to a witch. Talk about rubbing her hair.
Rubbing her bunions.
Yeah, it's just like
after a long day of spell casting.
I'm looking at this like, dude, yeah. To love a witch, that is only in your dream, is to know a passion that no one else can see, to stare into her eyes, run your fingers through her hair, awaken the coldness of morning to see that she's not there. Yeah.
I got to throw the flag. Missed a big opportunity there. Had to be looking to her eyes of Newt.
Yep.
Yep. Come on.
So
you're gonna do this shit. Do it right, guys. Gotta get those lyrics down.
This band kind of fell way back. That cover art did not help either. Which is not a really good thing if you're trying to push and market yourself. I think Trouble was doing a little better when it came to the visual appeal. When it's coming from Chicago,
the house is cool and everything, but those are some truly shitty wizards drawn there.
Okay, so they reissued the debut album, right? And so they went the CGI route with this. Like that is much better.
Yeah, it's better. It's
Marty,
better.
we need to put shitty wizard on the back of your battle jacket. You're taking that one back, man.
Yeah, I'm taking it back.
So I think on the debut, like if you listen to the 93 album, it's a little more kind of more on that heavy metal side of things than the whole epic kind of doom. But by the time he hits this, you can hear the big difference. There's a little bit of that overacting and just very theatrical kind of thing, going on. But I like it. Yeah, I like it for what it is. But if you're not prepared for it, can take you back. But
the doghouse up front was a nice touch, says Frank. Yeah.
Oh, not only that, it's got a upside down kind of cross happening there too. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
so that's a dog from hell.
Right bad there. Dog.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So that's Witchcross. Oh, nice little bloody photo. Thought I'd mention it. There you go.
Yep. All right, Alan.
All right. Well, I will see your Witchcross and call with a Witchcross. So yeah, old European metal classic, Fit for Fight by Witchcross. Sadly, the only album that got out back in the day. They also had a 7-inch release that came out before this The songs on it are not quite as developed, but still pretty cool. But yeah, this one, it just became one of those underground classics over time. Now, right there, this again, there's some Thundar the Barbarian art for you.
There's the boob.
But you got the boob, you got the guy, staring down the big monster thing. You got the fucked up moon in the background where the comet came streaking between the Earth and the moon and messed it all up. Everything you could want. Really, really good album. This one got reissued or I guess it was more of a license deal. It got picked up by Roadrunner. This is the original press on Vision Music. And we are not going to talk about how long I looked for this goddamn thing to add to the shelf. I did some things, man. Some things we're not proud of. But we've got it. Same song list. The blue is a different color. The Roadrunner pressing has a much lighter, brighter blue. So if it looks funny to some of y'all, that's why this copy is darker. But yeah, they operate very much in classic, traditional 80s heavy metal sound. Some of the songs remind me a lot of like early Tokyo Blade. Some just really good stuff on here. What are some highlights? Let's pull and check. You've got Night Flight to Tokyo's a really great banger for an opener. Killer Dogs, possibly from that Doghouse on the cover of Rick's Witchcross album, is a good pounder. Fight the Fire is really good. Light of a Torch is cool. Alien Savages. So yeah, really good. Some folks are a little hit or miss. There's a couple of songs that aren't quite, maybe up to par. But for me, yeah, this is one of the really great European metal albums from the early mid 80s. Can't go wrong with Witchcross. No idea why they didn't get a chance to do a follow-up. They definitely had the musical chops to deliver. All right, Marty, do you have a Witchcross too? Can we keep this party going?
No Witchcross, but I do have an album I didn't think I would be pulling and showing tonight, but we've got Witch Hunt by Rush off my favorite Rush album, Moving Pictures. Not a bad song on this record. This is a perfect album. We talked about a little bit on the Prog show here the other day, and with Jeff and Hunter from Radical Research, and they agreed this is, prog adjacent for sure. This album is just perfect, man. It sounds so great on vinyl. It's recorded analog for vinyl. It sounds so good. I don't want to hear a remastered version of this. I like the way the original sounds. Witch Hunt's a great song, and it was fun to think that I was grabbing a Rush record for this Halloween episode. Don't have a lot to say. If you're familiar with this band, I mean, it's perfect. Like, exactly.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. It's a perfect album. It really is a perfect album.
I wonder what the studio costs would have been at the time, like to do an album like that caliber. It just would have been probably as expensive as it could get.
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
It just to think to do a remaster of something like that, which was probably the most high tier at the time. It's just kind of insane to think about. But I don't know. I'm not a music engineer, so
yeah, it's cool to see some Rush fans here in the chat tonight, because that
near peer, yeah,
a lot of early Rush is great. There's some skippable songs on some of their albums, but that one, no, it's all quality all the way through it. Rick.
All right, well, you pulled a non-metal one, so I figured.
Hey, everybody, Sex Find Biz is up, and she wants us to find your love in your city, So we're gonna stick him to the block section.
I'm more in the suburbs, so no love for me. Yeah,
you're right. Okay,
I don't want to commute into the city to have to find my love.
Right on.
I got Brittany right here on the phone.
Yep.
This is some dark wave. I've had it for a while. Cursed Moon, Red of Darkness. Those are really cool Halloween listen. It's a one-man kind of thing. I don't know very much about it. I know it was sold through Hell's Headbangers. I got this a while ago, and it's got
keep it in your pants, Brian.
And Frank.
I'm gonna continue my laughter here. This guy, I think he's based in California, if I'm not mistaken. But again, I don't know very much about him. But you can tell he comes from a black metal side of things. But if you like dark wave music, this could be up your alley. It's got 2 covers that I'm aware of. So it's got 3 covers. So it's got a rock and a hard place, which is Sisters of Mercy, and so it's got the early stuff. Assimilate.
Which Sisters of Mercy song is it?
Rock and a hard place.
Okay.
Really early one.
Yep.
So actually that came. So it's the main album, and the cover material came on this 7-inch right here.
Cool.
So you can kind of if you want that separate for some reason, you can do that. A band called Oz, Turn the Cross Upside Down, which is the other cover. And the last one, it's which is funny because you guys did that Skinny Puppy thing last night. So it's got Assimilate as the last track here.
Wow, I'd really like to hear that. It's like a metal version of it.
Not necessarily. It's just kind of just his own little take on it, a little more modern sounding. But again, it's just full dark wave. But yeah, it's actually really good stuff. Again, I don't know much about the guy's background. This is the only thing they put out, or he put out. Cursed Moon, Right Up Darkness. So it's got a song here called Witch's Dance to kind of tie it all together. Really good track. All the tracks are really good, including this one. So
is it a Mercyful Fate cover?
I don't think so. Didn't sound like it. It had a completely electronic.
They have a song called Witch's Dance
sound too. Like it had a completely. So as far as I know, these didn't sound like it. These were the covers. It's these 3 right here. So I would say it's not, because that would have been included here with the other covers material.
Huh.
But yeah, that's good stuff. So
another band I've never heard of. Rick is batting 1,000 tonight. He's just crushing me here with knowledge.
Don't think this is that hard to find. I've seen it here and there, like little distros and stuff. So if you're looking for Cursed Moon. So I know you're into electronic stuff, Marty. So I think this is something you might enjoy.
Cool. Very unassumingly does not look like a electronic
I thought it was
album.
metal. I actually bought it at the record store in Philly. And I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, well, Hell's put this out. So that's pretty good.
All right. Alan.
All right, so Rick showed Dayton, Ohio's Witch earlier. Kind of a good example of, one of those private presses that doesn't quite deliver. So let's show one that does. This is a Texas band called Hammer Witch, and the album title is Return to Salem. So I get double witch points for band name and album title here. This is a mini LP from '87, just a kind of local private thing. I think they were in the Houston area, if I remember right. Best way to summarize this easily is really, really good metal church worship. This is very much in the metal church vein of just really classic, very heavy, no bullshit, heavy metal from the mid 1980s.
I get a more satanic vibe from it, though, just looking at that cover.
Looking at it, yep, you're maybe expecting something a little heavier and evil. I guess, again, this came out in '87, so they were probably feeling that, they needed something a little more visually stunning than a black doorway with a mat in front of it saying the dark, or a guitar sitting in front of, some dry ice. Metal church just didn't have good album covers, let's just be honest.
Well, at least Hammer Witch got pegged from Married with Children to be part of their cover.
But yeah, it's a very cool release. This one is a bit hard to track down. Funny enough, this one ended up for a while. What label was this? It wasn't a full independent release. It was put out on some little label in the area. DTA, what was it called? But it's in some horrible little font down here. Anyway, I've had people tell me stories like when they were looking for records in Texas. Actually, stopping by the offices of this place, and they would have copies of this just like in the free take one bin sitting out there in the lobby for
they overpressed it,
several years after the fact. Yeah, and they didn't press a lot of it to begin with. And they're like, you could just walk in and be like, just take a handful of those and I'll go flip them on eBay for a couple of $100 a piece. Because, really good release. This one really does live up to the hype musically. The band demoed some stuff later on, but the demo stuff by the end of the 80s, the early 90s was getting a big shift in direction. You could tell they had heard X Hoarder and that they wanted to be X Hoarder, and they weren't X Hoarder.
Slaughter in the Vatican X Hoarder, right?
Yeah, but they
Problem
sound
is
more like
important.
they sound more like somebody who fell asleep listening to a Pantera record and woke up thinking like, "Hey, let's start an X Hoarder
Okay.
tribute band." It's a rough listen for fan. If you have heard this and you're expecting that, those demos will catch you off guard. They're not at all the same style. But yeah, really cool one. There are picture discs of this that float around. The picture disc is a bootleg. This was not put on a picture disc originally. Those came out much, much later. I would guess they were a Mexican or South American bootlegs. That's where most of the picture discs I've seen were offered for sale. But hey, it is cheaper. And if you want to check out one of the cool unknowns from the US metal scene, that's a more affordable way to get it usually than finding the original. So yeah. Hammerwitch is a cool one. If nothing else, check it out on YouTube. It's worth a listen.
I've never seen that in a while. That's crazy.
All right. Well, we're off to the witch. We may never, never, never come home, but the magic that we feel is worth a lifetime. Man, this album cover enchanted the fuck out of me when I was younger. This was just such a killer cover. So
it has
good.
almost as much smoke on it as your basement has right now.
Oh my god, I'm getting more texts. It's not being enjoyed by the rest of the family. So.
It's all fun and games until the fire department shows up.
Yeah, no smoke alarm yet, so that's good. The club tomorrow night's going to be miserable for anybody attending. Great. Is this album as good as Holy Diver? Maybe not, but it's really good. It's really good, and anything with Dio singing on it is already exceptional. He is just a true legend, a true vocal legend, and rest in peace. And I just think it's awesome. He was doing Heaven and Hell up until when he died, and even as an old bugger, he still had the pipes, man. He never sang outside of his range. He never hurt himself vocally, and he could stand the test of time. He did it most of his life, and it's impressive. He left a incredible body of work for sure. Last in Line, Dio. The song Last in Line had the witch reference, so that's why I pulled that one. And I'm going to go use the little boys' room while Rick talks about some more witches in bands I've never heard of.
Maybe you've heard of this one.
Let
Actually,
me see before I go here.
I'm picking up right where you left off because it's got a Dio cover actually. And you
almost like we choreographed. We had a choreography beforehand. It's great.
I don't know. It's telepathic or something.
That's right. You're getting used to the Heavy Metallurgy flow.
Video.
Exactly.
You showed a band called Burning Witch earlier.
Yeah.
So there's a band from Switzerland called Burning Witches.
Oh.
So this is Hexenhammer, and this is their 2018 album. And I'm just getting around to listening to this band and seeing what they're about. They're pretty good. So it's it's all women, and they play kind of in that style of if you like Crystal Viper and Huntress and that kind of thing, where it's kind of in the heavy but a little bit of that kind of power edgy kind of side of things. They got a bit of that epicness going on. They do have the one ballad, Don't Cry My Tears, and but beyond that, I mean, they're pretty good, pretty riffy. The performance is spot on. I mean, it's got the kind of stuff that will stick in your head. So this was put up by Nuclear Blast. So yeah, really dug it. The Holy Diver cover, it was a little, threw me off a little bit because I'm used to hearing Dio's voice. I know that song's been covered a million times, but there's a certain way. But when I hear her sing it, her interpretation of it, and again, I think that was a song she can kind of really hit that kind of higher register and really make it her own, which I really liked. I still think the Dio version is the best, but I don't mind it that it's on there. So that's Burning Witches. They got quite a few albums on their belt already. So again, I'm looking to get more stuff. So I really do dig this band.
Yeah, I hadn't kept up with them, and when I looked at them today, I was surprised how much stuff they had released already. It's like
Yeah.
Okay, I looked away for a little bit, and but yeah, that's cool that apparently they've been.
You can tell they got
doing
that
well.
big label backing too, just from that caliber of artwork and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's no witch cross, but you know, this will do. There's no doghouse here.
Now, well, hey, you want a doghouse on the album cover? You got to have some clout. You got to earn that shit.
Yeah, yeah, with the upside down crucifix. That's a bonus.
Especially with that. You want the embellished doghouse. Yeah, you got to rack up the sales like in the tens of copies.
They got a song here called Maneater. Well, the problem is, okay, so the last song is the Holy Diver cover, and right before that one was Maneater. I'm thinking, did they do a Hall & Notes cover? No, there's no way. Like, it's not. Happy to report.
Good. That it was funny, but if it was true, it was going to be sad.
Yeah.
Okay, Alan is next.
All right, we've waited long enough for this next new wave of British heavy metal.
Oh,
hey,
sorry.
Cool! You found the other view button. No, that's
my bad.
Yeah, we still have at least one big new wave of British heavy metal witchy band that hasn't been touched on just yet. Of course, the classic Witchfinder General. The first album, Death Penalty. Witchfinder General, most folks are very familiar with him by this point. It's worth reiterating. Nobody liked this band back in the day. They played an unusual style for that time and day. They were playing music that sounded kind of like classic Sabbath. And classic Sabbath was kind of out of vogue by that time. That stuff was ancient dinosaur rock. It was exactly the kind of stuff that, sure, bands had listened to, but they were trying to move past. These younger guys did not want to sound like Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and Black Sabbath. They wanted music that was faster, more energetic, more aggressive. And so, Witchfinder General and those few bands that did the kind of, throwback style were not really central to the new wave of British heavy metal happenings. The band did not play live very often. They didn't get particularly good reviews at the time. A lot of people thought it was a little too, even in heavy metal circles, this was considered too gimmicky. It's just like, oh yes, that's the only way you're going to get anybody to look at your album is put some boobs on the cover, and now you're dressed up like a bunch of ponces dancing around. It wasn't a popular thing, and the band was pretty obscure throughout the 80s and even through most of the 90s. Just people were not into this band until doom metal got a bit more popular in the late 90s and into the 2000s, thanks to Reverend Bizarre and a couple others started name dropping them. And then all of a sudden they became, the cool thing that everybody apparently had loved their entire life and just never once talked about until after, Albert wore the t-shirt on the back of the Reverend Bizarre album. Anyway, cool stuff. I've always loved both their albums. Kind of hard to pick a favorite between the two. I just picked this one. I don't know, for reasons. One, these came on lots of different colors of vinyl and picture discs and all kinds of shit. They've been reissued. They are not hard or particularly expensive to get unless you want very specific versions. This is probably the rarest or most pricey version. And it's funny because it's the black vinyl pressing. Usually we think of the black vinyl as being the regular mundane one. But for Death Penalty, they actually originally didn't put it on black vinyl. It was on red, blue, clear, picture disc. Probably something I'm forgetting right now.
So they tried every gimmick in the book, the boobs and the colored vinyl, and nothing seemed to work.
It didn't quite get them over the top. And again, at the time, colored vinyl was kind of a gimmick. It was not a usual thing like it is today. But these black vinyl pressings, this is a slightly later pressing. It's not a recent repress. They were done, I don't know if they were done the following year, 2 years later, but it's an unusual label for heavy metal records. That's not the label you typically see for them.
It looks like an R&B center label.
It doesn't really look like a heavy metal label. It's a label they didn't use until a bit later in the label's lifetime. So,
I think Frank made a good point. He said the girl was a Penthouse model. And I'm thinking she offered no resistance for that photo shoot. She probably didn't even know why she was there. She's like, these guys are just dressing these crazy.
Another funny thing about Joanne's appearance there. Some copies of this come with an inner sleeve, that's printed with lyrics and stuff. And on one side of it, it has a big picture of the band in the studio they're all lined up and they're holding her up. She's laid out kind of, clean, Queen Cleopatra style. Still hasn't found her top in that.
No, they must have rented her for the day. It was like a day rental.
You get your hey, if any of us had the chance, to hoist her up half naked in a recording studio, I think we're in for that. The funny thing though is I've only seen or heard of that insert coming with copies that are on red vinyl. I've got a few copies of this. We're just going to leave it at that. The only one I've got has it on red vinyl, and a couple of other folks have commented on videos and stuff, and they're like, yeah, I've got a couple of those, but yeah, I've only got the insert with the red vinyl too. I don't know if it was unique to the red vinyl pressing that it had the sleeve. That would be kind of weird, but yeah, if anybody out there has one of the other old pressings on like blue vinyl or clear vinyl, and you've got the insert with the extra picture of Joanne on it, let me know. Just out of curiosity, I'd like to confirm that it did come with some of the other pressing.
I bought that. I think the copy I got was clear.
That's
I got it for $1.99 at New Moon Records way back in the day in Traverse City.
Okay.
I hated it, and I ended up giving it to Stephen O'Malley. I name dropping him again here tonight, but yeah. We were both writing it for Metal Maniacs at the time and friendly, and I sent him some stuff along with my D&D Dungeon Master's Handbook and Monster Manual. All shit I shouldn't have sent away, but yeah.
Okay, Frank says he's got the insert with his clear vinyl copy. Okay, that's cool. I figured it had to come with other versions. I just never have seen one before that, so good to have it confirmed that it's not just limited to red vinyl. It would have been a weird thing to limit to one pressing, but it was also kind of weird that it had so many different versions.
It's just despite all that, and in the 80s, the band was just pretty much ignored. Just like when they kind of went under the radar.
Yeah. It wasn't like this was like, the big hot new band. This wasn't Def Leppard or Iron Maiden that multiple labels were chasing down, trying to sign and press. This was, again, a relatively low profile band, that heavy metal picked up, and you got to say heavy metal did try their best to market the band. The band can't complain that they that they didn't put some effort into giving them some exposure with different pressings and stuff, but it just wasn't meant to be. And now, of course, they're considered sort of seminal doom masters from the early 80s, but boy, they could not get a whiff back at the time.
That's a good point. When I hear Robert Bizarre, I do hear those influences kind of creep in.
Yep. And we should give Professor Steele a round of applause for exceeding our boob quota for the evening. Yay! Good job. Good job. You really shined out on this one, Alan. Good job.
We may not be done. I'm not sure.
You're gonna swing for the Grand Slam home run, hit the seats at the very top of the stadium.
We shall see. We're getting close though. I think we're about boobed out.
Well, if we went for the Bush quota, you probably wouldn't have a channel right now. So it'd be very hard to keep that going.
Okay, I'm going with the Malleus Maleficarum tip with Pestilence's debut album. This band ended up getting quite death metal-y as they went. This album is very much a dark thrash record. Twisted and strange. I've always liked it. Van Drunen, his vocal style changed a lot after this. He got more dehydrated sounding and miserable. Here, he's just kind of a dark shouting style. He played bass at the time as well. Great album. Great band. Pestilence is brought up. This album is often overlooked, which is kind of a bummer. And granted, it is totally unlike the rest of their catalog, but yeah, people are clamoring for more boobs. Yeah, no, there's no boobs on this one. Sorry, guys. You have to.
I got a few.
Excellent. So yeah, exactly. We wonder why the sex bot. I know it's like we're putting it out in the universe, but Malleus Maleficarum, not as big of it's not a concept album like the Runes of Everast, but Hammer of the Witches.
I almost think of that as a separate band, especially between that album and the follow-up. I'm just
Yeah.
like, it's just so different, so night and day to me.
It's the same lineup, I think.
Yeah.
Even it's just they got heavier and more death metal like. It's
I'm with you, Rick. Sometimes I just forget about that album. Not that I don't like it. It's just that I will sometimes default to thinking Consuming Impulse is the debut.
Cheers, Frank. You're all right. You're looking at 3 boobs right now. I'm a double D.
Is that no? Not Blade Runner. What's the other one? The Schwarzenegger one with the 3-boobed moon girl.
Oh,
Total Recall.
Total Recall. Yeah.
There we go. It took me a minute. Frank's
All
watching
right.
Total Recall.
If you got Total Recall on VHS, and you know how like over time they tend to degrade, that's probably like if you're getting a used VHS, that's probably the most degraded scene, like that 3-boob scene. Like if you're gonna watch that, I'm just saying, like it's been paused and watched over and over again.
Yeah.
Not the 11-year-old me saying that.
All right, Rick.
Well, continuing on the theme, this is a band out of Scotland, and they kind of play in this whole stoner doom kind of element, which you guys know, people like me and Brian Arkham love. So the theme of their albums, it has to do with Vietnam, porno. It's a lot of women worship. It's just general satanic, just debauchery. So this is Devil's Witches with Velvet Magic. And I think that goat there, I don't know if he's happy to be there or not, but he's there. She's there. This thing's getting ready to slip. And yeah, so, this is one of those where you're ready to, okay, so if you're looking for the mandatory boob shot, there it is. Devil's Witches. There's a lot of Vietnam theme going on. I don't know why they decided to go that direction,
Weird. The cover and the content don't really match.
They're kind of going in several different directions.
You got the soldier there, with all this kind of going on. Now, I could open up the gatefold, but how do I put this? You might want some hedge trimmers when you look at the insert. So I don't want to get you guys demonetized. Or,
that I mean the Britney Spears. If the boobs don't do it, the Britney Spears will.
How do I?
I kept that clip under 5 seconds. We're covered by copyright.
How do I put that? There you go. Like that. Is that good?
I still can't tell what's going on in that cover.
Oh, all right. Maybe that's the point.
Oh yeah, right on.
The A to Z had a naked 6-year-old boy on the cover. So yeah, we've got issues tonight.
So yeah, again, kind of got that old. It almost looks like it could be like a Rob Zombie thing. I know he always went for this kind of aesthetic with that whole kind of, I don't know, that sort of boogie, retro kind of look to things. And this band kind of follows that same kind of aesthetic. It's just they're a little more porno than what White Zombie and those bands try to do when it came to this kind of thing. But yeah, they got a few EPs and things up their sleeve. This one actually was relatively hard to find, but the guy at the record store knows I come in there frequently. He's like, dude, I got something you might like. He actually reached out to me. I'm like, so come with me, come to the back room. I got something for you. Show me this. I'm like, it's interesting how you targeted me and knew this is what I'd be looking for.
Yay, free candy. Thanks, mister.
Yeah.
Last time somebody said that to me, I woke up a day later in
so.
a bathtub in a hotel full of ice. And
yeah,
Glenn, you're completely correct in your statement. Alan is always the man.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So drugs, retro porn, and Vietnam War, an alternative soundtrack to Apocalypse Now. That's what's on the hype sticker. So there you have it. Devil's Witches. It's actually really good stuff. If you like Electric Wizard, if you like that kind of thing, and Stoner Doom, and not quite Bongzilla, it's a little more not as harsh. But still rather got some groove. It might be in your wheelhouse.
All right, Alan.
All right, I'm going to go in a direction I haven't gone tonight. I'm going to go a little death metal. And this is a song. I've just been playing this a fair amount lately and realized, oh, wait, one of these songs fits tonight's theme. So we're pulling Morbid Angels Domination for next to last track, Inquisition, Burn With Me. Little bit of a witchy theme there
Yeah.
in the subject matter. It's kind of funny. This Morbid Angel album seems to get shit on more than a little bit, and I don't quite get why. I understand it's not, Covenant Part 2, and I know folks really dig Covenant, but this is still a pretty damn solid album. There's a few little weirdnesses to it, but they don't seem egregious enough for the album to take that much flack. So yeah, I mean, this isn't some kind of commercial sellout. This wasn't going to get played on FM radio or anything. It's not. Yes, it's not just blasting away the style that Covenant did, but it's still a very solid Morbid Angel album as far as I can tell. So either I'm listening to it wrong or people are just hating for reasons I don't get. But yeah, they still sound good vocally. Trey's solos are still very good. The drumming is just a fucking powerhouse wall of sound. It's got what you want for Morbid Angel. I get it if people aren't so keen on a little bit of the experimentation on hate work and stuff, but there's not enough of that to sink the album. Not for my ears, at least.
I always hear when you flip a coin between that or Altars as their favorite. It's either one this one
Altars
or the other
for
one.
me. Altars for me. It's the perfect album.
Yeah. No, I would definitely have Altars higher than this, and I'd have Blessed or the Sick higher than this too. But this one to me feels like a perfectly good Morbid Angel album. So I don't see why some people are so down on it, and not everybody is. There are folks that dig the album.
Which cover do you prefer, that one or the one that's on the LP? With the statue.
Oh, with the other thing, I don't know.
They're both not great.
They both have their good parts and their bad parts. I like the weird color scheme. The purple and green is kind of cool.
Kind of psychedelic in a demonic way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not keen about all this, very primitive Photoshoppy mirror image shit down in here, though. That part's a little bit of a head scratcher. But I do like they went with
that would have been art school me doing that at the time. Just Photoshop was still at version 2 or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, at the time, yeah, this was cutting edge software graphics. But even at the time, it was always a little bit I don't know about the cover, but I did like the purple on green up there at the top. So that's my take. But yeah, they even Morbid Angel, you don't get quite as much witchy stuff in death metal, it seems, based on what we've been going through tonight, but there's a little bit, so I figured Morbid Angel would be a cool different one to include.
Yeah. All right, I'm still on third tier Norwegian black metal here, and we have Obtained Enslavement with the Witchcraft album. You got the black metal guy there getting burned up on the stake like he's some kind of a witch, but notice he is lacking a purple witch hat. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. Where is the attention to quality on this? The attention to detail. But anyway, this is this is their best album. This thing is great. Maybe a little Gorgorothy. There might be someone from Gorgoroth in here. I don't know. They all share they're so intertwined, their talent. But solid Norwegian black metal, harsh, scathing, good dissonant riffs. Excellent album. If you're familiar with Ben from Brain Smasher, he loves this record. He shows it off quite a bit on his channel. He has in the past.
I think I picked it up because of his recommendation.
Yeah.
I forgot when that was, a while ago, but it's the only one I have.
Yeah. There's one after it, something of the Hounds of Hell. It's like a horrible,
the Shepherd and the Hounds of Hell.
Yeah, Shepherd and the Hounds of Hell. It's not a good album, and the cover is really bad. It looks like a Napalm Records album cover from those days. They had a spell where there's witchy women without any tops on there.
Yeah.
Something is probably in Alan's collection.
Doesn't have a guy with demon horns, and he's got the swooning woman in his arms. So it kind of looks like it looks like Demon Fabio or something.
It does. It looks like a romance novel.
Yeah. It's like romance. Their love burned hotter than the flames of hell. It's the Shepherd and the Hounds of Hell.
Exactly.
You couldn't believe it's not butter.
Exactly. Oh, the best thing about the 90s was Fabio hitting the goose on the roller coaster. You guys seen that footage? He's like on the roller coaster, all happy and smiling, and a fucking goose like hits him right in the fucking face, blood running down. Oh my god, that was like one of the best things of the 90s. Forever burned in my memory. He's not so hot now. Anyway.
He really should have ducked.
All right, Rick.
So this is a recent acquisition. I got it at VCLT. So if you guys see my video, Tony, shout out from Life Eternal, sent me this. I shall become.
Tony's good people.
Yeah, I was not. I have I do have wanderings. So
that's a good depressive black metal album. That's a good one. That's
shit. Like it's the only one I had, and he brought this my way, and I've never listened to it, so I put it on, and shit, man, like this is a lot more atmospheric. It's nothing like that first album. It's quite dense. You can hear the differences in musicianship. There's more nuance. It's got a bit of that Cold Mist kind of going on with the sound. If you look at the cover, it's kind of nails what the sound is like and what it feels like. So this one is the Pendle Witch Trials, which I believe it's a concept album based off the 1612. I think it's happened in England. I think it's one of the early histories of the witch trials, and I think there was like 10 people who were basically put to death through the whole witch trials and accusations that was going on at the time there. So it's always interesting to hear like that side of history, because I know when I was growing up, I was hearing about the Salem and the U.S. side of things, but hearing the stuff that was going on over there in Europe, it's like that preceded it, and it's a one-man project. He decided to kind of take that idea and kind of make an album out of it, but really good. I guess this is still an ongoing project. I'm not quite sure. It's because it's been a while since. They put out a lot more albums. I like swirled back around and was kind of surprised how many records they have. He has. I think it's just a one-man deal, but don't know for sure. But yeah, there's quite a few albums by that guy. I really liked it.
Cool. Good one. Alan?
All right. Well, got to definitely include one of the leaders in the 80s U.S. metal scene, Savatage. Got some witchy stuff in songs. This is a split CD. It's got Sirens plus Dungeons Are Calling on it. And on Dungeons of Calling, there's a badass track called By the Grace of the Witch. Dungeons is a really good title from Savatage. It's a little overlooked. It's one of those like mini albums, so it's kind of a weird length. But yeah, a lot of the songs on there just to me feel like they've got a lot more life, a lot more power to them than Sirens. Sirens has its moments, but some of the tracks also they feel like maybe they needed a little more work. But then Dungeons, just has a killer track list, and Grace of the Witch just has this kind of very cool, eerie vibe to it. Savatage was really good at cultivating that sound. They weren't going for like a bright, happy power metal. They were not singing about cars or girls in cars or girls driving cars. They had this real kind of creepy, dark vibe, but it was just done so well because the talent in the band was just off the charts. And absolute great one. Even there with the we've talked about it before. I still think of it as the turkey baster through the eye of the skull there. But Savatage wasn't done with witches. We're going to slip in a 2-for-1 here because Hall of the Mountain King would come a few years later and include the track White Witch, which is one of the faster, really almost more aggressive, almost thrashier tracks on this one, but still has a really catchy chorus to it. So yes, Savatage, you get double the witch action here on Heavy Metallurgy tonight from one of the real standard bearers of 80s US metal.
Right on. Okay. Another stretch, a band name that really has probably not much to do with their music, but Solid band. No one ever talks about this band that I've ever seen. We've got Death Witch from Sweden. You got Dawn of Armageddon and Monumental Mutilations. Death Witch is known for Nicholas Terror Rudolfsson. Some of you would know him maybe from Sacramentum. He was in Sacramentum. He was also in the band Rune Magic, which were quite good. Necrocurse, which is one or both of the twins of Niflheim. It's that Necrocurse. The last Necrocurse album's killer. And also he was in Swordmaster, and plus a million other bands. The guy's super prolific writer. This stuff is pretty much just a black thrash, really aggressive black thrash. They put out a couple other records as well. During the late 90s, early 2000s, very prolific artist. He was putting out a lot of stuff. This Death Witch, this was on Necropolis Records. They never got a lot of love, but it's solid stuff. I put on one of the CDs today as I was pulling stuff just because I haven't listened to it in so long to remind myself. And it's good, solid black thrash. Excellent stuff. If you're into that sort of thing. Is it like R Noir quality? No, it's not. Is it, Death Hammer quality? No, it's not. But it's solid. Death Witch from Sweden.
Cool. Never checked them out.
Okay, Rick, we swung back around to you.
I can't say I'm familiar with Death Witch. Now I'm really intrigued. So the last thing I showed was VCLT that I got. So I'm going to just continue on that that idea. So this is kind of a highlighting, not so much the albums in themselves, but more the artists who did these kind of albums and kind of showed the cloaked kind of figure and kind of had almost of the witch, but also kind of Reaper. It kind of tried to kind of both worlds. And that is Lewandowski, who passed away this year. Rest in peace. So thank you, Marty. He sent me this Bell Witch.
Yeah.
So this is Mirror Reaper. And Abigail Williams, Walk Beyond the Dark. So right here. So again, it's just, wrong side. Right here. So both really good albums. This is more on the, I guess, Doom, Funeral Doom kind of side of things. And this is more a black metal, atmospheric black metal kind of side of things. He did a lot of stuff for different bands, but you can tell when you saw this, you kind of had an idea that the band in of themselves were going to be kind of had a little more of a little more dense, a little more of a what do you call it? Just a more complex element to their sound. There's more stuff going on. Those are the kind of bands that kind of reached out to him. When he did these kind of things. And I don't know, like it's just a really interesting. I have a lot of his artwork just between here and there, between all these different bands and albums, but these two in here in particular, I really like a lot actually. Abigail Williams in particular. So kind of sticking with the theme. So if you guys don't know, like that's I don't know how old she was at the time. Was she 9? So she was the subject of somebody who was kind of making a lot of accusations of at the time of who was a witch and who wasn't. And this girl in particular was basically, I guess you could say, involved in the deaths of quite a number of people simply by, putting them on trial and having them, be accused of being witches. So Abigail Williams, and I think later in her life, no one really knows what kind of went on with her. But when she was really young, she had a lot of power. This little girl had a lot of power between deciding people's fates. So this band kind of just took on that name, that moniker of this particular person, and kind of just took on that sound. But I really, really like this. And this right here is a mega classic. And the thing is, Lewandowski's, I think this is one of his early metal projects. It wasn't even that long ago, but when this came out, his commissions just kind of blew up. I
was gonna say I really like the guy's artwork style, but they're so similar. I'm kind of tired of bands using him because it really makes a lot of them look the same.
It really does. Yeah,
I was thinking that for a period of time, but now that he's no longer with us, I think that obviously we're not going to be seeing new material coming from this artist, so this is going to be recognized as that time when he was putting on a lot of stuff like this. So I can understand why it was a little exhausting because it was a lot of it was very samey, but he had a very distinct look and very very kind of a
It's
yeah.
cool, but yeah, it is very
Yeah.
samey. Very samey.
This I got the one called Livlos. I think it is Fuming Mouth. There's a few other bands that
Bell
he's
Witch,
done,
yeah.
he's done work for, and kind of has that look. Who's that? There's a few. I've had too much of this, so my memory's a little.
Woohoo! You've been pumpkin spiced or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, so put up a Profound Lore, Blood Music. So it went all over the place. But I just thought it was worth noting. Bell Witch and Abigail Williams, they'll have that witch ties to it, and just happen to be VLC. So thank you, Marty. So
Hey, you got it,
really,
man.
really like these.
Yep.
But thought that was worth a mention.
All right, Alan.
All right. Let's get into some more recent U.S. power metal. San Diego's Cage. Been around for a while. Haven't really done anything for a bit.
Christian band singing about witches?
There are. They've got kind of. There's an angle to this one. The Cage, after their first couple of albums, they found their lane, and their lane was to sound a hell of a lot like an American version of Judas Priest's Painkiller album, which works. They had a vocalist, Sean something's his name, forgetting his last name, but he could pull off the vocal chops pretty well. And the band rode that style for several pretty good albums. This one's from 2009, and it's got a track on it called Scarlet Witch, which is really based more around the Marvel character Scarlet Witch, which was one of Cage's things. Most of their songs are either about comic books, World War II. They do a few other history things. They have, supernatural. They usually have at least one or two supernatural stories. There's one. I don't think they do Abigail Williams, but they do some similar kind of creepy things. They did a song about Chupacabra, which it's really fun hearing a heavy metal band try to make Chupacabra sound vicious and evil. It's like Chupacabra. It's just like, damn, that's fine. You go. And they just because to double down on it, they did the bonus track with the entire thing sung in Spanish. So hell yeah.
I think I have a theory. Alan, you don't own cows and you're not in Mexico. That's why it's not that threatening to you. I'm just saying.
Among other reasons, yes. Yes, those would be some factors on the list of reasons I'm not.
On a side note, I grew up in Spanish culture. When you, here in the U.S., the news is more about stuff going on in crime and shootings and all kinds of things. When you watch a lot of the stuff on the Spanish networks, that whole Chupacabra and shit, they cover that like it was real, like it's real news. You know what I mean? Like that stuff it shows up on your 6 o'clock, whatever, 11 o'clock news. Like they talk about that stuff, man. Like here, people laugh at that stuff. They take that shit seriously.
Yep.
Just seeing both sides of things. Just saying. I did not know this. That is interesting. But back to Cage. Yep. So yes, the Scarlet Witch was one I thought of as a little different angle on the witch thing. Science of Annihilation is a cool album. There's also the song right after it is Spirit of Vengeance, so they did a Ghost Rider tune for that one. But yeah, they've got Operation Overlords, the World War II track on this one. Black River Falls refers to a famous, again, paranormal incident somewhere in the Midwest, if I remember right. I forget the story behind that one right off. But a cool band. They didn't get a whole lot of attention ever, but the albums they hit, in this stride were pretty good. Again, the first two albums are a little different, and they also had an album, a really long album called Hell Destroyer, which leaned a little bit too much into the whole good versus evil, heaven defeats hell thing. It just goes on and on forever. But once they got into the albums like this one and Supremacy of Steel, they kind of found their lane much better. This album, oddly enough, got one of these reworkings. There's a version called Science of Annihilation Reannihilated from 2019, and it looks like one of those deals where they kind of went back and re-recorded it. Which, do you really need to redo an album that was only 10 years old? There wasn't really anything that off. It wasn't one of those albums that was completely torpedoed by a horrible production or anything. Couldn't have been that hard to track down. So little sus on why they redid the album 10 years later. But yeah, they haven't done anything new since 2015, sadly. Are they still listed as active? They are listed as active. So, Cage, if you're listening, fans are out here. We'd like to hear something new sometime. Even Ancient Evil, the last album was pretty good. So, you know what you do well, Cage. Get back to work and do some more of it. We'll check it out.
My only issue with that is if I'm going to the record store and I'm not really being familiar with the band, I see something like that. The cover looks very overly CGI'd, right? Like it's overly photoshopped. I'm like thinking, like, am I really gonna enjoy this? Is this something that's one of those moments where like the cover really does sell it, right? But something like that, I don't see myself picking it up just based on the fact that it looks very overly photoshopped.
Yeah, that's fair.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah,
graphic snob.
This is why we need an Alan, to kind of lead us towards the right direction. Like, okay, maybe I should explore it.
Yeah, no, the cover for Supremacy of Steel is even more kind of overblown than that because it's got like it really does look like one of those like full page ads you used to see in Marvel comics where they're having their big summer crossover event and every fucking superhero is crammed into the art somewhere if you look at it. So yeah, they definitely go for that kind of that style.
Okay. I got two more. If you guys got plenty more, please keep going. And these two were.
I'm getting down to my last few too. So no, I'm wrapping up.
This was a pretty obvious one. King Diamond the Eye.
Yep.
The Eye of the Witch. I mean, you got Burn. Basically written back in the Inquisition trials in a Catholic church. The priests persecuting the nuns and stuff. It's great album. Really great record. I think the last truly favorite one that King did for me. Kind of obvious there's a drum machine on this. He always said there wasn't, but there was. It was. I think Snowy Shaw was booked or listed as the drummer on this. I don't think that's true. But anyway, great album. I love the vibe on it. Burn, as I mentioned, great song. This whole album is really good. Two little girls, creepy, weird harpsichord song. Awesome. Good vibe on this record. Has a definite Hammer horror kind of evil vibe to it, I think. Really good record.
That was the hardest for me to follow, though, storyline wise. It was just so much things going on. And
yeah.
Inquisition and just like, what the hell's going on?
Isn't it like 2 or 3 short stories? I mean, it skips around a lot through history.
It's like a Tarantino movie.
Yeah, there's like the first 3 songs are one story, and then the next 3 you skip forward 100 years, and it's another little mini story, and then you skip forward again or something.
It could be. I don't remember the storyline.
I don't think it's like Abigail or Them, where it's like one consistent set of characters from start to finish. If I'm remembering right, it's been a long time since I played that one.
It's been a while since I spun it too.
He was done with that series, and he needed something. So that was kind of like a one-off thing, right? Like that was just its own little isolated story.
Frank is on fire tonight, folks.
That's probably what it is most of the time. It's a fox.
The fox says it is not a chupacabra.
Yep. All right, Rick.
So I pulled this one just because the lyrics were a little disturbing. It's a little different than some of the stuff we might show here, where we're like, it talks about conjuring and spells and whatnot. So Pagan Altar put out Mythical and Magic, which is still one of my favorite ones.
That's a good. That was a good band.
Yep.
The particular track is what is it? The Witch's Pathway. So it's kind of the lyrics I think have a lot to do with the fact that the witch is being burned at the stake, and it's almost like I don't know if they go Dr. Phil kind of on this witch, just saying like, just this is your path, this is your fate. It's okay, we know you're burning to death. Burning to death at the stake is probably the most horrific, most painful thing you could ever experience. Like if you had to choose your method of death, like that's probably the worst way to go.
I don't know. Crushed by cow has got to be a strong contender too.
I didn't think about that.
Hey, everybody forgets about the cow. Given the chance, it'll take you out.
I'll give you a snippet of what it says here. So the Witch's Pathway, fire, burn in hell. It's a cry that we know so well. Fire to cleanse your soul, but we know that's the way you've got to go. Passing through the barriers of time, forget the pain, think only of your line. Fire, open the door, it's a gateway to life forevermore. Burning bright, won't you show me the pathway with your light? Passing through the barriers of time, forget the pain, think only of your line. Showing me the way to live another day in a future that will soon be mine. So I'm looking at this going, this person is not going to take this very well, no matter how much you try to console them. I'm literally burning at the stake here, buddy. So that kind of it kind of left me with a very odd feeling. What was going through your mind when you were writing this?
Right.
But it's a good song,
nursery rhymes are going through their mind. Apparently, that's one thing.
I until we started doing this, I didn't actually look at the lyrics too closely, and I said, you know what is actually going on here? What is this about? And then I started going through it. I'm like, okay, I see what they're trying to say. Pretty disturbing.
Right on. Okay, Alan.
All right. Do another sort of more modern U.S. power metal. This is kind of the same tier as Cage, I guess. Definitely not a huge high profile band, but one I kind of dig. North Carolina's Widow. This is their debut, Midnight Strikes, and they have a song on it, track number 2, that I like, called Witch Way. And amazingly, we haven't made many Witch Way jokes tonight, so this may be our window of opportunity. We'll see how the conversation goes. But I saw Widow a couple of times right when they were kind of getting off the ground in the early 2000s, because I was living in that part of North Carolina. They always got a little bit of a mixed reception. I personally liked them a lot. They had good guitar melodies. They used a combination of clean vocals, but also kind of the more extreme metal vocals. And I think that was the part that sat a little ill with some people, that folks are like, you're not going to go mallcore on us here, are you? Because the guitars are kind of clean and the vocals are back and forth a little bit. This isn't, you're not going to start covering, My Side of the Bed Tonight or something, are you? Some kind of Atreyu track, which they weren't. They weren't really in that style at all. But for some reason, people seemed a little cautious about Widow. But I thought they were pretty good live. Picked this up from them at one of the shows. Liked it quite a bit. The next few albums were decent. I didn't think they were quite as good as this one. But I just thought they had a good blend of traits on here that kind of gave them their own sound, but stayed within, that classic heavy metal pocket. They didn't stray towards any subgenre that has the word mall anywhere in it, because we know those just don't work out for those of us interested in this kind of stuff on this podcast.
Something about that Photoshop lightning, like it reminds me of, if you look at like Tyrants, like Legion of the Dead, it just has that. It gives me that vibe, just lacking the Oldsmobile. But
it was 2003, so they worked with what they had. And,
but in 2003, Photoshop's gotten much better. I'm just saying, I was using Photoshop in 2003, and I could have produced it better. They never called me. I'll leave it at that.
And when you're talking shit like them, they're not going to call you either, Rick.
No, that's not. No, they're not.
Now they're not going to call you for album number 4. I literally just gave them your contact information 2 weeks ago. They said, we need a good graphic artist. I'm like, I know a guy.
Oh, hold on, I got a text.
Crapped all over the deal.
You just got the text.
Yep. You don't get the you've been canceled. You don't get the commission, and I don't get the 3% finder's fee. So we all lose out tonight. This is why we got to record this shit ahead of time, Marty, and do some editing.
That's right. Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. We'll miss out on all of Frank's one-liners he's been zinging tonight, though.
We would, and that's not a price. I am not willing to pay that price. So we'll keep this shit live, and Rick will just completely destroy my side hustles, but we'll get some laughs from Frank and Ryan and Tim and everybody else who's been watching. Which it's been a very nice turnout tonight. I know there's been a lot of streams on this afternoon and tonight, so definitely appreciate folks hanging out as we get near the end of our stack here.
And it's Halloween weekend too, so I'm sure there's some Halloween parties and shenanigans going on too. Yeah. So
people be busy this time of year for sure. So appreciate y'all taking some time to
pumpkin beer,
do a little witchy fun with us here. All right, Marty, we still got one or two here, I think. So
I got one left, and you can call me the one trick pony of the night, because here we go, Mercyful Fate again.
That's okay.
Yeah, In the Shadows. This was the band's comeback album. They reunited the whole band other than Kim Ruz on drums. He did not make it out for this. I can't remember who played drums on this. Anyway, yeah, the band's all back together, and this is actually a good comeback album. I was quite when they made the announcement they're reuniting. Man, I was in line for this at the record store in town waiting for it, and thankfully they did have it. But the Bell Witch, obviously, that was one of the. They had a single for that CD single for that song. I could have pulled Time as well. You got Witch's Dance off of that one. So I mean, there's been a lot of witchy women, and it's kind of like King Diamond with witchy women. With Ronnie James Dio had devil women and tarot women and all these women that did him wrong over the years. But great record, favorite on here. Gruesome Time, Shadows. I like that song a lot. Yeah, Shadows, Gruesome Time. That's a good 1-2 punch. Great songs. They kind of had the old spirit, but more of a modern production, which kind of bugged me a little bit. But good album, good cover art. I like the whole damn thing. Big Fate fan. I'm really bummed I'm not seeing them next Saturday, but man, Detroit's just such a long drive. It's just such a long drive, and yeah, too much to plan for. I just assume I've seen them once during the Time era, or what? I don't know. I saw them at Metal Fest. They were great, awesome. So I've seen them. I can be happy about that.
Fair enough. And you bring up a good point there, Marty. For all the aspiring rock stars out there, you got to stay away from the witchy women, the devil women, all that stuff. Find yourself like a nice, dental hygienist, or chemistry lab technician or something. You never ever hear heavy metal vocalists say that chemistry lab technician done them wrong. It's just those are very solid, stable relationships that get formed.
She was smarter than me, and I felt inferior. That bitch knew too much. Yeah,
Witchy Woman. I think Witchy Woman, a Don Henley song. I think it is.
Oh yes. See how high she flies. Yeah.
See how well that would have. I don't know. People responded to that if I pull out Don Henley album.
Speaking of perfectly stable people who have no trouble with relationships, Don Henley, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, pumpkin spice, our favorite pumpkin spice gal, Rick. Here you go. What do you got?
Something, Marty. Like when you say, going to Detroit's quite a hike. People, who are used to because the U.S. is a big country, right? Like comparatively to some of the European, but one state can be the size of a country compared to some of the countries in Europe. So going from Traverse City to Detroit is quite a hike. And the reason I'm saying that is because I get that too with the Pittsburgh people. It's like, well, you're in Philly, you're in Pennsylvania. It's like, hey, like I got the Appalachia and all that shit I got to go get through. It's hours.
Yeah, that's Pennsylvania's a big state if you got to go east-west.
Yeah.
The thing with the Detroit trip is going to a show is always fun. The trip down is always fun. I'm just of the age now that I get to a place, I don't want to drive home the same night. And the guy that's coming home is driving home. I'll be getting home about the time the sun comes up. And I'm a night owl. I'll go to bed at 4 or 5 in the morning, but if I see the sun coming up, it fucks me up. I don't like that feeling. As long as I'm going to bed and it's still dark, but driving home and it's about a 4.5, 5 hour drive from here, which isn't bad, but 10 hours of driving in one day, withstanding, a long, loud concert, on the way home, you're tired. You just want to be in bed. It's a long drive, a lot of deer. It's just a lot. You're going through a lot of farm country through the middle part of Michigan. It's just a lot.
When you're in your 20s, that's like nothing, It's like you do it all you can do it every week, no problem. But now at this point, it's like, and now I'm past the 4.0, and I'm like, and then looking at the 5.0, and it's just like those days are over, man. I'm just not going to do it.
Yep, it's not worth it. It's not worth. It'd be a great show, and now's the time to be seeing Mercyful Fate. Granted, Michael Denner isn't there, which really sucks because Denner and Sherman, they're my guitar duo. I love those two, but they're still great. King, post surgery, post heart bypass, and quitting smoking, his voice is awesome live now. He sounds amazing. I'm shocked. I'm watching these videos. He sounds CD quality almost.
I love that last Deceased album. It was, one of my favorites actually.
Yeah, and it's just I want to see them having that quality, but I just don't want to put in the clock in the miles and the hours and the hassle of it. It's just a lot. Anyway, Rick.
I'm gonna pull up. Speaking of stuff that you may not have heard of, so this is band from so they're already split up. They split up not too long ago, I think. So they put out 3 full lengths. They're from Raleigh, North Carolina, and they play sort of I guess you could say a doom rock, proto metal kind of sound. Their vocalist, actually, the vocalist kind of reminds me of Ian Gillan in a lot of ways. So if you like Deep Purple, and you kind of like that sort of UFO, but it's a little heavier, a little doomier, with an occult. Imagine Deep Purple with an occult vibe, right?
Yep.
You got Demon Eye. So this is their debut album, Leave the Light. So I got wind of this band way back in the day when it first dropped on Bandcamp, and the single that really caught my attention was a song called right here, which is track 6, which is Blood. But everything here, man, it's like this band. It's all about those hooks. Like it's like the sound. It's all about. It's very meat and potatoes. But with that sort of that really retro classic kind of vibe. And I thought they were really good. And I think they just never caught on. They just never really got into that upper, then whatever that next tier was that they needed to be to get attention from those labels. The labels was those were put out by Soul Solid Records. But so they put this out with limited one-time run. I don't expect to see a repressing of this anytime soon. But if you see anything about this band, definitely slap it up. But that Witch's Blood, man, that's an earworm right there. That will that will get the follow-up album is also really good. And then Prophecies and Lies was the last one that came out in 2017. But shit, I was like, this band should have been bigger than they were. They just came in at a time when I guess people were looking for other things and they were just not getting the exposure. But you can catch live footage of them on YouTube or whatever. But they had the hooks, they had the catchiness. And this is the kind of thing, if this band existed in the 70s, these guys would have been superstars. I think with the kind of sound they were going for, a really talented band. And it's just a shame that, no longer a band putting stuff out. But I really enjoyed them for the time that they were active.
Right on.
Demon Eye.
Killer. Another one I've never heard of.
Nope,
I think you would really like it.
Yeah, even as a North Carolina band, I do not know that one.
Rick has got his finger on the pulse, people. Again, go subscribe to his channel.
Rick is better than just about anybody at digging up really cool stuff that people should know about and just don't.
All their stuff's on Bandcamp. You can check it out in time or YouTube's it. Again, they got three full lengths and 1 EP.
Huh. Good deal. See, Rick, is that your last one, or did you have others that you wanted to flip through? I know Marty said he did his last one.
I can go as long as you guys want. I got a few things. And some of the stuff that I got here is a little more niche. So that's why I kind of put them on the back burner just in case. I could just show them real quick.
Yeah. Okay. I'll show my last 2 or 3 real quick, and then if you got a few you want to
do that, I'm gonna go
wrap up
potty real quick. I'll be right back.
Not a problem. So a couple more witch tracks to mention. Almost forgot about this one, but remembered at the 11th hour. Exciters Heavy Metal Mania does feature the excellent Black Witch as a track. Like the debut from Exciter quite a bit. My personal favorite, though, is Violence and Force. But this one still has a lot of good tracks on it. You gotta like stuff like was it Iron Dogs? The real slow, heavy pounder is really good. Stand Up and Fight, Heavy Metal Maniac. Exciter is so good on these early albums. Really fast, but really catchy at the same time. They just had a good balance of things. They weren't trying to just, they weren't fast and chaotic and loose, like, early Hellhammer or Voivod or something. But they weren't sticking to just, a pure, accept or, Iron Maiden formula either. They had, just this really, very kind of cool, unique sound. Can't go wrong with early Exciter.
I think, speaking of people like of my generation, like when I was a team in the 90s, when I first heard of that band, by the time they came into my radar, I was not ready for them yet. That's what it was. Like it was just it kind of blew past me, and I was into, you know, what was trendy at the time, you know, and also I was, you know, I wanted stuff that was dark, right? And
Sure.
I wasn't looking for Exciter. You know, I come to appreciate them now.
Yep.
But bands like them, Razor, I was just that's not what I was looking at, you know. But you know, you guys were already well into the, you know, those albums and this and that kind of thing. But it was not something that, you know, again, I already said it, I wasn't looking for. But shit, revisiting. I mean, I actually picked that one up not too long ago, and I was like, I'm kicking myself, going, man, this is
Yeah.
and that's a quintessential example of really good speed metal too. You know.
Yeah, they have that speed quality to them for sure, but
Long live the loud. That's
yeah,
their best.
unlike a lot of speed metal, I mean, they hold it in the lane really well. It doesn't, you know, a lot of speed metal bands, they push that envelope to the point the songs almost fall apart. Exciter never pushes it quite that far. To their credit, they always keep it really tight. But yeah, Exciter's also one of those bands. It almost feels like they kind of blew their wad very early. You know, and several of the other albums that came a little later are still decent. But it just feels like, yeah, by the time you get to, you know, albums 4 and 5, they had kind of run out of steam. And as such, you know, by the late 80s, they were almost becoming an afterthought, unfairly, but it was not a band you heard mentioned much, you know, by that point. By the time, you know, people were all about, you know, the big four of thrash, it's like Exciter. Shit, that's so 1983. It was kind of like thinking about Accept or Twisted Sister. There was that group of bands that were very popular and very big early in the 80s. But the middle 80s, you know, they kind of disappeared and they didn't get back on track afterwards, which, yeah,
if you would have told me like 20 years ago, like not even 20 years ago, like not even that long ago, like these kind of bands would have a big resurgence, you know, and we had these new crop of bands coming out basically sounding like them, I would have not said, nah, you're out of your mind. There's just that's long and gone, you know. But here we are, you know. It's like now we got this next breed of bands coming up, and you know, you and Kellen had a bit of that back and forth, yeah. You know, which is really good. If you know anybody watching, like if you've seen the Kellen response to the new wave of traditional heavy metal, and you know, in your response to that, I think it's a really good kind of commentary of kind of what's going on now, you know. And so I took a very close attention to what you guys were saying about that, because I remember like I think my age group is a little different than, I think I'm a little older than Kellen, but I'm younger than you, you know. So I kind of
I think you're in between us.
I got a kind of nice unique look at both sides of the argument, you know. And then you brought up Chris Sermon, which I like, yeah, damn, they showed the Philadelphia band. They showed a band from my city. That's not a quintessential example. Damn it.
Indeed. I'll go through one or two more real quick here. Another band that had a witchy song, early Running Wild, has Walpurgis Night as a track. It's on this copy of Gates to Purgatory as a bonus track, unlisted. Nice quality control there, Noise Records. So yeah,
I could have photoshopped that for you.
I had to tape a post-it note down here to remind myself that they are on there. But yep, Running Wild touched on that. And of course,
don't forget Genghis Khan.
Pronunciation always a little interesting with Rock and Rolf. Yep. And last but not least for the night, we certainly can't do this topic without paying homage to the original Fates Warning, Night on Brocken. You want a witch? Now, right there is a motherfucking witch.
Yep. She was rocking the yoga pants before yoga pants were a thing.
Yeah, and
no, I'm talking about the one overlooking the precipice there. Yeah.
Who's like just everything is like out of proportion in this picture so badly. It's just, you know, yet another. It's a bad drawing. It's badly colored.
I like it. There's a charm to it, man. It's then that album.
You've got these little fuckers running around here, look like some kind of like, you know, chupacabra version of an Ewok. I'm not sure what the hell they are. You've got some people are very big, some people are very small. I don't know.
I think they wanted Olivia Newton-John that day, but you know, she forgot her leg warmers, you know, like to model for that.
Maybe
you got Damnation on that record. What an amazing song. Oh my
There's
God.
several, Damnation's, the go-to. Night on Brocken's also very good itself.
Yep.
And of course, then you had, Metal Blade's ham-fisted attempt to fix the cover art. Which
That's
was
the
this
version I have on vinyl. I have that one on the bonsai version. Yep.
Yeah. This is a Metal Blade press with that cover too.
Yep.
But and back to to your point earlier, Rick, about the lyrics where they're kind of like doing some weird Dr. Phil intervention while watching her burn. This is like the most calm, sedate person who has ever been immolated in the history of fire.
And she looks like Juice Newton.
Once again, yep, still with the Newton thing going on.
He's thinking
literally going up in flames here, and the look on her face just says, "Oh,
Whatever.
I wonder if I remembered to turn the stove off this morning."
Did I leave the coffee pot on?
Yeah. Oh, I wonder what time Richie's getting home so we can go out to the club tonight. Oh shit, I'm on fire.
I want to get my pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks. It's that time of year,
This is not a person on fire. This is a person
irony
who's contemplating
she's burning to death, but she's still thinking, did I leave the stove on?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. She's just like, I don't know who shot JR. It's just such a weird expression and yes, I know of all the things wrong with this cover, I'm worried about the lack of actual concern on her face. There are bigger artistic issues to be delved into there for sure. But
and then they resigned to the fact that they need to let's fix it. They put out a third cover for that album where it's just a moon. There it is.
Yep.
Ta-da! They didn't fix it.
I think this time they just decided, you know what? We are not going anywhere near witches, fire, or any of that shit. Go to the folder, pick the most generic stock photo we can, and just call it good enough. We are not going through this shit again.
Oh, ridiculous! Yep. 3 strikes and you're out.
Yeah, you had 3 chances to get it right, Metal Blade.
Yep,
3 chances, and this was the best.
Yeah, I think Beharit saw that. And they're like, that's what not to do. We're gonna take the moon. We're gonna make it really large, and
we're gonna draw it down up and get a nice close up of it.
Yeah.
I just got a CD copy of that the other day at the local store. Crate album.
Oh, Beharit.
Yeah, drawing down the moon.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, love that one. That is the end of my stack. I want to call it right there. There's lots of other cool ones I could have pulled, but Rick, you've got a few more to go through, so let's see what else you had tonight.
Yeah. So you pulled that Rush earlier. Like, okay, so I pulled a couple like non-metal ones, but I wasn't sure how the flow of the night was going to go. But this is really good kind of goth rock band, death rock, because you could say if you're into Christian death, you kind of fall in that vein. 2 Witches. So this is the Vampire's Kiss. Kick-ass track, man. Burn the Witch, which is track number 10. So Marty, I don't know if you're familiar with this band.
No.
Witches. So I know 2 of the members went on to, I don't know if you're familiar with Lacrimosa. So went on to basically, they're members of Lacrimosa, but this is I might even send this one your way. I think you would love it that much. This is a classic album. It's really good. So
I'll check it out.
Finish death rock, not quite death wave, although I think later on they would introduce more electronic elements in their stuff. But if you're in that kind of that scene, you're really really deep into it, this is something you would be more or less familiar with. Another one is so I brought up Black Mass, which was a storm spell thing. Funny enough, so at the time I got that Black Mass, and so I put this in the shopping cart, Witching Altar. And this is a Brazilian
cool cover.
Yeah, this is Brazilian doom metal. And so this is not something that you would think of Stormspell carrying in their sort of inventory. You'd think of power metal, heavy metal, kind of that's pretty much their bread and butter. This is kind of an outlier in their kind of discography. So this falls in that. Are you familiar with Black Oath? If bands like Black Oath, this would appeal to you. Mm-hmm. They have that sort of nice groove, but very kind of accessible style, clean singing that you can. It's got the hooks and whatnot. So this one's really good. I'm trying to think of a notable track. It's got a couple of bonus tracks in here, but so yeah, put out by Dive Bomb. It's again, this is something they carry regularly in the store, and I wonder why more people are not kind of on the up and up on this band. But I actually found this band through a band camp a while back, and they didn't have anything physical for a while, and I was surprised to see that Dive Bomb had it in stock. I was like, shit! So I put it in my cart, and along with Black Mass, and so it's really good stuff. So definitely recommend it. Ride with the Devil. So this is the album.
What was that the album name or the band name, Rick? Sorry.
Oh, Witching Altar is the band.
Witching Altar. Okay.
From Brazil.
Okay. Yeah.
You wouldn't know they're from Brazil though. They got a very I don't know, like I wouldn't say the Italian sound. Like okay, so this goes for my next one. If you want Italian,
no, if they sound like Black Oath, I'll definitely check them out.
I think you would like it. Witching Altar. Next time you go to Stormsfeld, I always see this listed, so this is definitely worth putting in your cart. I think you would like it. Abysmal Grief. I'm sure if you guys have been following Italian bands, this is something that you would be very familiar with. Witch Lord. That's the reason why I pulled it. Another really good track. This is actually a cover. It doesn't say it anywhere here that as far as I know. And this is not their newest album. I think this is their last album they put out before the newest one. And so it's a cover from another Italian band called Evil, EVOL. And it was called Tales of the Witch Lord. And so the band's no longer active. But these guys decided to take that song and include it in here and put their own Abysmal Grief spin on it. So if you guys are into Abysmal Grief at all, if you're not, really good band. Very cemetery sounding. They got a bit of that goth vibe. Kind of they got some of the synth stuff going on. Blackened death elements along at the same time. They got a little bit of everything. A really interesting band. This one is Blasphema Secta. Really, really good album. I actually played it for somebody who came over not too long ago. He's like, man, this shit's really good. Like he's like, what is this? I'm like, Abysmal Grief, man. Like you wouldn't know because you don't hear about this stuff too often.
Yeah.
One I got here is a finished one-man project, Witch is Hollow, and this is the Coven is Alive. So this is interesting black metal. It's kind of very atmospheric. Very well performed. The production on this is really good. You would think it's a full band, actually. This was put out by Narcoleptica Productions.
Never heard of them.
I think they're based out of Russia. They put out a lot of I wouldn't say everything they put out is bangers, but every now and then you get a nice gem, and I would lump this in with one of their gems. Again, not one everybody talks about. So yeah, Witch is Hollow. The Coven is Alive. I think it came out in right before the pandemic hit. So I got this with they had a sale going on, but I got like 50 CDs for like $1 from this one like vendor. Yeah, it was ridiculous. And well, to do that, you didn't get the case. The guy's like, dude, okay, I'll send you all the stuff. It's cool, like you're spending all this money, but I'm shipping this stuff from Russia. So he sent it to me without a case. And I'm like, dude, I don't need the case. Like I got plenty of stuff going on here. So I had to put a case in this.
I mean, $1 is like 50,000 rubles right now, isn't it? Anyway,
I think he made, despite the fact it was $1, he still made money. You know, funny enough. But what I wanted to mention was that this right here is broken up into an actual play. So Act 1, it's broken up into acts. It's got characters. So you got the old witch, town council, the narrator, the sheriff. Then you got the old man, Christine's mother. So it's about these witches who are trying to conjure up. I think it's a baby. So somebody ends up in the town ends up pregnant. Happens to be the sheriff's daughter, and then the witches know it's like I guess you could say it's the Damien, right? It's like the baby to be destined. Mm-hmm. And the baby ends up getting killed, which was supposed to be a sacrifice for the devil. It's something along those lines. I don't know the story exactly, but it's something kind of along that direction. It's a really messed up story, but it's literally broken. Like there's no lyric sheet. It's actually broken up like an actual play. Huh, you got the actual narrator. Like the acts are broken up. So it's not your conventional lyric sheet. So it's really interesting. It's like, I wish more people knew about this. Witch's Hollow. So yeah, so I thought this fit well with the witches theme tonight. So I had this a while, so it kind of deserved another look. Another one. This is a cool one. This is a witches thrashing the hunt.
And hey, Rick, I got to say, that story would have turned out very differently if instead of dating the sheriff's daughter, they had been dating a dental hygienist. Just saying.
I didn't think they specified the year, but dental hygienist would have been a very interesting trade. I don't know, 1700s, whenever that was.
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
Oh shit. Okay, so so this is a band from France. You guys know Aggressor? They were one of the very early
From France.
Yeah.
French from French. Yeah, the long drinks are starting to kick in.
Yeah, I'm
The
feeling
France band from French.
That France band from French.
I know the name, but
French
I don't
or
know
France. Like,
don't know the
I don't
music.
know. Are they the same thing?
Oh,
They eat cheese and they surrender easy. That's all we need to know.
They really like croissants. I don't know how you say it. I feel like an asshole every time I say like croissant. I say it the wrong way because I feel like I'm offending somebody.
Hey, Rick, just call it a bagel.
Okay, the French bagel.
The French bagel.
the France bagel.
Those are my options for breakfast sandwiches anyway in the morning. No,
You can call it a big muffin. I want my freedom fries and my McMuffin.
So I thought this was worth noting. So here's the band shot. The band's called Witches. It actually got a pretty cool logo. It's got you can even see like the little head right here is like the little witch. You see what the W is? It's kind of cool. So they've been around a long time. The reason I mentioned Aggressor was because the sister of one of the members of Aggressor is in his band. She's the vocalist, and it sounds a lot like Aggressor. As a matter of fact, if you're already a fan of Aggressor, I don't see why you wouldn't check this out. So Thrashing the Hunt, and they've been putting out stuff since the early '90s. As a matter of fact, they got some demos. She put out with her brother. What the hell's his name? From Aggressor, and I don't understand why people don't talk about this band much more, but it's really good. It's just good thrash, very aggressive. Again, if you know Aggressor, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's kind of has that same kind of vibe. So Thrashing the Hunt. Again, the sister of that guy, she's been into this music just as long as he has, and I don't know why the name escapes me at the moment. But yeah, really, really good stuff. So, and this is relatively easy to find. I just dropped it.
Perfect.
Oh shit. But yeah, I thought it was worth. I don't know if you guys have anything else to show.
No.
I'm at a good stopping point. I've mentioned a couple of other honorable mentions over here in the chat while you were showing that cool stuff.
I want to thank DG Charles, man. He's been dropping just really good information just tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Alexandre Colin, I'm not sure how you say it, Tolkien. Yeah, that's the name.
I think it's Tolkien.
Brother,
It's Tolkien.
Tolkien.
Yeah, Tolkien.
It's
You know
French.
what?
I failed French.
I actually do have one last little shout out to give here. And I meant to give this at the start tonight. And it got shuffled off to a different tab. Not a heavy metal thing at all. And but if you're going to cover witches and all that kind of stuff, one of the real early innovators for the spooky side of rock and roll is worth a mention here. Screamin' Jay Hawkins.
Someone mentioned him in the chat earlier in the stream.
Did they? I missed that. I'm sorry I missed that. But yeah, Screamin' Jay, this is his 1956 album. It's one of the things in my dad's collection. It's one of his prized possessions. He of course famously did I Put a Spell on You, and became one of these, kind kind of a novelty song, but also, became, a massive long-time hit. It resonated with a lot of people that went on to be, musicians in a lot of different subgenres over the years. And the legend on this always was that it was originally supposed to be sung as more of like kind of a quiet, sedate ballad. Jay Hawkins was more of a balladeer type vocalist. But when they were practicing the song in the studio one night, the whole band got blind drunk, and Jay started just doing this, crazy over the top vocal style while he was screaming and grunting and everything quite a bit. He said literally, the story goes, that he blacked out at the end of the night, didn't remember the recording session the next day at all. But when they played it back, they realized it was something pretty cool. And he had to go back and relearn how to do it by listening to the recording from that.
Oh my God, that's drunk.
He had no
That's
memory of what
drunk.
he had done.
Yeah.
And then over time, he kind of, different people kind of talked him into developing this, crazy persona. Legendary radio DJ Alan Freed reportedly paid him like $300 to like rise up out of a coffin on television for one of his shows. The story goes at first Hawkins didn't want to do it. His immediate reply to Freed, and again, remember, this is mid 1950s America, was that no black man willingly gets into a coffin alive because we ain't getting out of that thing. but eventually he took the money, he did it, and it became a career thing. Even the cover of the album, he's got all these rubber snakes and crazy stuff around him. He had a stage prop of a skull for a long time on a stick. The skull's name was Henry, by the way, because I know all kinds of fun stuff. But yeah, and I put a spell on you. It's been covered by a ton of bands. Creedence Clearwater Revival did a great version of it years later. But
that Midler did a great cover on Hocus Pocus 1.
Put your purple hat back on there, Mister. You're messing up my tribute here.
Sorry. But, I could be a vat of useless knowledge too. So shut up.
But yeah, had to throw a little love to Screaming Jay. He was it's one of those classic kind of spooky, goofy Halloween songs that has really transcended the generations. And like I said, this is one of the crown jewels in my dad's collection. He found it at a record show when I was a kid. We were there with a good friend of ours. And just some guy was carrying it around. It wasn't a dealer that had it. It was just some guy who had brought some records to trade. And he had this under his arm, and Dad had looked at it and, tried to buy it. And the guy's like, I'm trying to trade it for some stuff here. I don't really want to sell it right now. And Dad's like, oh, okay, shit. And he told her friend, her name was Jane. He's just like, Jane, you follow that crazy guy around and you don't let him get out of this building with that record. If he looks like he's about to leave, go to his car or some shit, this was before cell phones. Like, you get the fuck a hold of me because I'm getting that record from that son of a bitch before he leaves here. He ain't going to trade it for no shit. I'm buying that record off of him. I just got to, I need time, but I got to go look at other records.
You suddenly made me not regret being a record buyer in the 90s.
It was a thing. But yes, she followed that guy around for hours that day. He went to every table, flipping through boxes of records. It's literally like those comic scenes like in the movies where somebody's trying to spy on somebody, like walking around with the newspaper in front of their eyes and wearing the bad disguises.
holes in the paper.
Yeah, little holes cut out through the magazine. She she's always like 2 or 3 boxes down from him, kind of like pretending to look at records while keeping an eye on him and all this shit. And finally, enough. Yes, he started ambling out to the parking lot, to smoke, and she'd be like, Phil, like gesturing while, and he'd like go come stomping across, like, oh shit, he's just smoking a goddamn cigarette. He'll be back. And yes, sure enough, before the record show was over and before that dude got away, Dad cornered him in the exit. And it's just like, so, did you find anything to trade your record for? And he's like, no, I really didn't. It's like, oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that. You want to sell it? And yep, he took it home with him. So Dad bought it, and it's been in his collection ever since. So a fun record collecting story from back in the day. That's how you found your rare records before eBay and Discogs. You stalked guys you had never met before at record shows for hours, and then accosted them on their way to the parking lot and bought their shit.
That is the true thrill of the hunt.
I got a few things to add to that. One,
absolutely.
one, I caught that video not too long ago, actually, for the first time. And I'm thinking, this is what people like. People were flipping over Hound Dog, like Elvis. Like you watch a spell on you, like that would have been the perfect, like, you seen Reefer Madness, right? Like the kind of ridiculous propaganda film that was. If they would have shown something like that, of course it was years later, when that showed up, it would have made a different kind of impact. But the first time I heard I put a spell on you was actually I kind of did it the wrong way, because being a child in the 90s was through this. Marilyn Manson did a cover of it on this. And I know.
I just threw up in my mouth just a little bit.
I didn't know. And
Sorry.
it was like 1995, and my friends or my high school buddies were like, this is this guy from Florida, you got to check him out. And like Marilyn Manson, I'm like, okay, he names his, and his bandmates are all named after serial killers. I'm like, and fashion models or whatever. I'm like, all right, it's, and so somehow I got a hold of this tape, and I put a spell on it, was on there. So all right, it's okay. I didn't know it was a cover actually at the time, and I didn't find out until like some time later. And I was just like, okay, this is clearly a whole different interpretation of it. But I gotta say though, I'm not a Marilyn Manson fan anymore. But at the time, this kind of did help me, kind of I don't know, kind of explore and give me reasons to look more into the underground and what was going on there. So a lot of people get hate to Marilyn Manson, but this was put out by Nothing. I know it was one of those Trent Reznor things. He was really buddies with the guy. It's just they had a big falling out. With all that happened. But again, a lot of people hated on the guy, but he was a big part of my kind of musical journey. And kind of how I discovered a lot of things. That's kind of why I still hold on to the tape.
How old are you, Rick?
I'm 42 now, so I would have been 15 around the time this came out.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, man. You're a child of the 90s. I mean, I like some White Zombie, but I mean, I can see how that guy, Rob Zombie, really appealed to a lot of people too, because he was huge in the 90s, and Pantera and all those bands. It's just, I get it. It's your age bracket. Absolutely.
Yeah, some folks in the chat are asking about some of the different covers, and I'm pulling up the list here. But yeah, I Put a Spell on You has been covered by a variety of artists, including Creedence Clearwater Reviver. It's late. CCR.
Is that French?
Nina Simone, Alan Price, The Animals, Them with Van Morrison, Crazy World of Arthur Brown, Brian Ferry, Buddy Guy, Carlos Santana, Tim Curry, Leon Russell, Joe Cocker, Nick Cave, Marilyn Manson. There you go, Rick. Micah Paris, David Gilmour, Jeff Beck, Josh Stone, Diamanda Gallus, and Annie Lennox. So,
and Bette Midler. Come on.
Put your purple hat back on. You don't get to invoke Bet without the hat on.
It's hot and itchy. I want to do it.
That's what she said. Bet I'm talking about.
I almost put that through my nose.
Yes, I did mean to start the show out with the Screaming Jay Hawkins tribute, and glad I circled back to it before.
I got a newfound respect, for that. I didn't discover too much later. I'm like, man, I wish I knew about this kind of stuff earlier.
Yeah, Hawkins, later in his career, it was one of those things that, while it was, obviously his huge success, his claim to fame, it also, he felt like, stereotyped him pretty badly later in his career, that nobody wanted to hire him or give him a recording contract as a serious artist. It was always more he was viewed as more of a novelty artist, which he actually had a good singing voice. He could have done regular music, and so he expressed frustration in some interviews.
Well, I get it, but that's the only damn song he's known for. I wouldn't know him at all for anything else.
That's always the kind of double-edged sword of that thing. Without that song, nobody would probably ever have heard of him, period. With that song, yes, he's got this claim to fame, but he couldn't ever break away from that mold very easily either.
I guess it doesn't matter if you got 15 minutes of fame. That song stands the test of time, and that says something, because most of us, we put a very small impact on this world, and if for an artist to even have 15 minutes of fame, it's just something at least. You know, it's more than what a lot of artists strive for.
Yep.
Or achieve, I should say. Well, awesome, guys. I mean, we knocked out the witchy topic. Is this our first or second Halloween episode? Fuck, I don't know.
This is our second.
Our second. I don't think we did anything for the last one. We were just normal, you know, whatever.
Oh no, we did. I did things.
Before
that's right.
Before we end, I'm going to be that guy. We didn't show any tapes. I got a couple little tapes here.
I did.
Did you? Oh yeah, you did. You did. That was the one. That was the one tape.
Yeah. Show a couple tapes.
No,
and
you got some tapes. Go right ahead.
We'll knock it on its head.
All right. So it's this kind of stuff. It's like, I don't know. Like they had limited runs. So I don't know how easy they are to find nowadays. So here's a band called well, it's a one-man thing called Witchy. Alan, I think you might dig this. It's kind of Witchy is a one-man thing, as you could probably tell from the cover. So it's got a bit of that old I don't know, Reverend Bazaar meets Pentagram kind of sound to it.
Alan bitches about Reverend Bazaar, but I like them. They're weird and fun, and I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah. It's put out by a Temple of Mystery, which are based out of Canada. So you know, limited run thing. I think you might dig it. I might even send it your way, man. Like I think you might like it. I
like stuff. Is it France?
This was not from France. So, from Canada. I don't know if it's from Quebec specifically.
Well, kind of.
Also from France.
North American France.
You know, we're talking about more like extreme music. You know, Nutslaughter. Here the Witches.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I wonder if we see some Savatage.
This is their live album. This was recorded in May of 2020. You remember when the world went to hell in May 2020? These guys put out this live album for us to enjoy. Very good. I think this is one of the early recordings. Once James Sadis, you know, was no longer in the band. Obviously, he passed away. You know, they had the new guy on board. You know, people kind of wanted more material, see kind of what it would be like. You know, this is a good recording. You kind of got an idea before they drop their new album. See what
Dawn of the Dead just got a hold of me last week, wanted to do a trade. I'm thinking, what the hell do I have put out that Dawn of the Dead wants? Bindrune is not a Dawn of the Dead label. Anyway, go ahead.
I would have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, I don't know what he sent me like a million Nunslaughter titles for trade. I'm like, you want Panopticon stuff? Well, I mean, what? Najoshuan? I don't think so, brah.
This particular artwork, if you know Carl Dahmer, he's got that very messy look to his stuff. Like you know it right away. Like, so this is another one of his works. So yeah, good stuff. Actually, I thought the production was going to be pretty awful on it, considering it was live and all that, but it actually sounds pretty good. Concerning what it is. Another one is what's his name? I forget now. Colin Tarvin. You know him from Evulse. He's in that band Mortuous. So he's got a side project. So yes, he's got a side project called a Swamp Witch, right here, which is this is an EP, one of the full lengths. It's put out by Transylvanian Tapes before they became Transylvanian Recordings. So I thought it was worth a mention. It's kind of like, it doesn't sound like Mortuous or Evulse. Evulse I know is a more grindier band. This one's more sludgy, so this is the more sludgy death metal kind of band. I thought it was worth a mention. Really cool. Called Swamp Witch.
Is Transylvania Recordings in Transylvania County though?
I think they're based out of the West Coast. I got one more tape I pulled out. This is kind of a Actually, this is kind of a cool one. It's so it's on Bandcamp. It's actually a free download, so you guys can there's no charge for it. You can just download it for free. So it's called this. And the thing about this particular project, I think it's two-man project.
A two-man project. You had to look at your finger. Wait, there. Pumpkin, that was good. Pumpkin spice. You dress up like a girl in the fall with Han Solo vest and boots.
They went out of the way to remove all W's. W's do not exist in this universe. So it's Ouija Witch. in Halloween, but with again no W's. And this is a limited tape run. And why did I pick it up? Because it's kind of the electric wizard kind of doom kind of stuff that I like, but it's got a cover of Solitude on there. So it's got a Candlemass cover, which I think is the last track. It's not bad actually, right there. So right there. So I'll leave the name up here for a second if you guys are curious. So again, no W's. This is Ouija Witch. And yeah, there you go. That's pretty crazy stuff.
Sweet.
Goofy.
Yeah. Nothing going on, really. Nothing interesting going on the side here. Just, I don't know. Looks like a grindcore album from the side here. I don't know.
All right, Rick, did you shoot your witchy wad?
I think so. Shit. Shout out to Gems Label. Gems Labels, I order from them quite a few times. I think they're based out of Illinois. So I order from them frequently, and they threw this in as a freebie.
Ooh.
And this is Closet. It's called Closet Witch. Again, female singer.
Cool.
You wouldn't know it, man. But this is some noisy power of violence grindcore stuff. I kind of put this in the back burner. I know this is not Alan's wheelhouse kind of stuff.
Oh, that's okay.
It's good though, man. It's really harsh, really vicious. Just power of violence grindcore stuff. Closet Witch. I think the band themselves are based out of Iowa, and I was surprised they threw this in there because it's actually really good.
Neat. There are several things that just Iowa, that cover art and power violence musicality, just the variables don't really seem to add up, but I will definitely take your word for it.
Here's one. The band's just called Witch. So this is Joseph Masick from Dinosaur Jr.
Jay Masick.
Oh,
yeah.
Somebody mentioned this in the chat earlier. Yeah.
Thought it was worth a mention. Yeah, so this is his stoner doom band, and good stuff. I think they have one other full length after this, and they haven't really. I don't know. They don't have any material. I don't know if the band's still active or not, but this is good. It's got a bit of psychedelic elements, all this stuff going on, which is pretty good. Nice little swirl vinyl. So it's worth a mention. Here, so again, if you're looking for thrash, it might be a bit of an oddball one, but Testament, latest album, fourth track. I think it's what is it? Night of the Witch, fourth track.
Oh, forgot about that.
Right there. Good track. My only issue with this is that I like Dream Deceive. That's probably my favorite track on this album. And I keep putting this on repeat. I keep forgetting about Night of the Witch because I just keep putting this one on repeat.
Yeah. I was thinking about Testament this afternoon, but I never went and checked to see if they had. I was thinking they had done one that was a witch song, but I would not have remembered it if you hadn't mentioned it. Yeah. We could have mentioned the new Blind Guardian has their leadoff track is a witchy one, Deliver Us from Evil.
That was a good deep dive, by the way. Just wanted to say, give you guys a shout out.
Oh, we had a great time, and Zoller is so fired up. He's like sent me a list of like 10 things he wants to do on Heavy Metallurgy. So you folks will be seeing S. Craig Zoller again for sure.
Cool. Yeah, really cool. Looking forward to it. If you can get him on. I mean, I know he's busy.
No, I mean his weekends are busy, but he's a weekday, which kills Alan. It fucks up his rhythms for sure.
Just a tad, but sooner or later I'll have we'll just have to work out where it's like Wednesday for a Thanksgiving break and things like that if people aren't tied up with family commitments.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll find some Wednesdays at work.
I'll do one more for tonight because I know Brian Arkham really likes his band. Green Lung, Free the Witch. This is their first EP. I first got wind of this band in Bandcamp when they dropped it as a tape at first. It was like a limited run, like 50 copies. But that sold out right away, so no chance. So listened to this on digital for a long time. Then I found out they're finally dropping this on vinyl. Picked it up. Then he had a full length or two after this. Great. It's like 70s kind of a proto rock, kind of proto metal in a way. It's really, really good. I think if you like Angel Witch, you would love this. You know, I think you would like this. So this is their EP though, Free the Witch. Really cool art direction too. This will become very apparent if I show you the artwork.
Witchfinder General much, except it's a dude.
Exactly. So yeah, very, very highly recommended. I think you guys will really dig this one. So they're based out of the UK. Really good band. They're still active, so they're still putting out stuff. So looking forward to more material from them. But I basically buy everything they put out.
Right on.
Another one to keep an eye out for sure.
Well, okay, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on our second Halloween episode, and be sure to praise your local witch, and we love all you folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Rick, again, thank you for joining us. It's always a treat, my friend.
It's been fun.
Yep, you've always got the coolest stuff that nobody is familiar with, but is always worth checking out.
Absolutely. And Alan, again, sorry you had a crappy week, but hopefully we started off the weekend with you're smiling a bit more than you did when we logged on. So that there's a thumbs up for sure.
Oh yeah, no, this was a fun way. And yes, sorry if it was a slow start. I literally was working up to like
that's why I ended with Free the Witch.
Literally was working to like 8:46 tonight, trying to get all the hatches battened down. But yes, we got there for sure.
Well, awesome. Everybody, programming notes. Next Wednesday, we'll be back. The album club will be covering a Cryptic Shift album. I don't remember the name of it.
It's a complicated title, but it's a cool tech death album.
Yeah, cool tech death album with sci-fi themes. We love to see you on Wednesday night. And yeah, and also last night we did a stream over on Matt's channel, The Dark Path. Myself, Matt, and Dennis from Analog Archives. We did a deep dive on the Skinny Puppy catalog, which was a lot of fun for me. They're one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, Yo did really good with that too. I missed it last night because life got in the way. But I listened to the whole thing at work today, and I actually opened another YouTube tab so that, as y'all mentioned, songs and albums, I could at least play some clips and snippets because it's not a band I'm familiar with. So yeah,
what'd you think of God's Gift Maggot? Isn't that a fucked up nightmare of a song?
It is a very heavy. Yeah, Ogre's vocals, really, really caustic. Really cool though. Yeah, I like a lot of what I heard, and now having gone through that, I kind of know which albums to keep an eye out for in the wild. So
and definitely pick them up. They are worth it, man. They're
if I
a
come
wealth
across them,
of
now
stuff.
I'll know, like, okay, skip these two, but pick up that one.
Oh well, now that you told that, I don't know who to give my copy of handover to. All right, Alan,
that album sucks. Don't give that to him. It'll fucking curdle his milk. That's not a good one. But you all rule. Please have a safe holiday and have fun out there. And you guys rule. We appreciate you very much. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will be back next week for sure. And don't hang up, Rick. I want to chat. We want to chat with you for a minute. And
watch out for those goose when you're on the thing.
on the roller coaster.
That's the thing.
It's hard to go ahead.
What did Fabio say? Fabio's actually kind of into that shit. He likes it a little rough and stuff. So you know what he
likes a hard goose in the face.
After that was done, you know what he said? Hit me, baby, one more time.
Oh fuck! Oh, there it is. I'm ending this. This is ridiculousness. I'll talk to y'all later.